mistake twice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you very much.
Is that Shelley needs one?
What?
Shelley needs one.
Yeah, I made a second in case we made an error.
That's okay.
Never hurts to,
We don't have a printer
exactly.
here, so.
Mine's the same from one to the other.
Boom, done.
Close enough.
All right, we'll sign the other one.
Okay. We are back on the host agreement on the CPC and the medical marijuana issue. And we have Attorneys Baird, our town council, and Attorney Cranston, counsel from Mr. Ian Doley. And gentlemen, I think we've kind of come to some sort of agreement here. I hope, and I think we're ready. You gentlemen were supposed to draw up some agreements formally.
I did, and emailed it to everyone. Hopefully they received it and reviewed it.
Yes.
Any questions?
I have no further questions.
I did have a question though, because you originally took a vote to execute the letter of support / non-opposition pending approval of this, but I don't think anyone ever prepared a letter of approval / non-opposition. I can't do that because it needs to come on your letterhead, so.
Wasn't there a generic one that was submitted that the state kind of wrote for us to?
Yeah, you just copy it out of the handbook, but it needs to be
Oh.
on your,
Could you send that to me,
Then we
where I
can,
find it?
I have the generic.
You have it, okay.
Okay, I was gonna
so
ask
we
you
could just
that
make
if
a
you
vote
needed.
to sign it and then just come in tomorrow or something and sign it.
Is this something we can make a copy of during meeting? Is it, he's gonna print it, or is
You
it?
could authorize the town administrator, the interim town administrator to sign it, if the board voted.
That's all right as well.
I don't even mind if we just have it where we just all just stop in and sign it in the next day or so. But,
that's fine.
okay.
We'll do it that way.
It's pretty simple, it's only 2 sentences.
Just needs to be on the letterhead.
I am comfortable with that. Is there a,
We need a motion to that effect, and
Well,
I'd make
let's-
a motion
Let's
that,
sign this one, and so we can do that.
well, right, let's do this first and then we'll do that letter thing and be all done. So, any other questions you guys have on what was submitted, or?
I brought extra copies, so what I'm giving you right now is the document with the red line changes accepted in it. So that would be the final document.
Okay.
And did also bring a red line copy.
Are these the
if
same
you want to
thing?
compare.
There's one for each of them that you just gave them?
Oh, I see what you're
We only need
doing.
one original, but if they all wanted to look at it, yes.
yeah.
Okay. The agreement, the agreement, the agreement.
Okay. This is what we spoke of the other night anyway.
Correct. And so what you're looking at there, Charlie, is the red line version,
Mm-hmm.
and then I gave final versions which incorporated
Okay.
changes that Jim and
This is the one I saw
Ellen
last
So you wanna
discussed.
see these, copy each for your review reference, and we'll choose one of them to sign if we agree.
He probably has a different one to sign. I think these are ours.
Do you have the one
I
you want
have one more
signed?
final if you want to sign that one.
Okay. It's all the same. I have the electronic one, so for just my own records, I'm fine with what I got.
Well, I'd make a motion, we sign the partnership agreement,
Host community agreement?
host community agreement.
I second
Okay.
the motion to sign the host community agreement.
Okay, is there any discussion? Bill,
I
did
just
you have a question?
about this letter of non-opposition. Should this be dated as of tonight, or when the board made it pending some kind of agreement?
Dated the date you write it, and then we all just come in and sign it. That's my suggestion.
I don't think it alters anything at that point. It's,
As long as it's dated before the day they submit it.
Okay. Jim, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
Nothing that would be significantly important. Let's put
Okay.
it that way.
Okay.
You can spend the rest of your life editing something like this and finding all kinds of little rewordings you can come up with. That,
Okay.
you know, by the time you're through, you haven't changed a thing.
Right, in the end is kind of like it's
I think
an
the-
agreement. If we
I think
agree,
the
we shouldn't
ultimate
have to
down-
fight through the words.
Down the
but
slippery slope is
We'll see.
that probably this facility is going to be
Yep,
allowed to do something you really don't want it to do, but
yep. That's, I understand. Okay, any other discussion, any other comments before we move on? Okay, I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Okay. I think we're pretty well set.
And we also have the restrictive covenant now. It has both parties' names on it, but it doesn't really need it. It's really an agreement between us, so we can sign that. But really what we'll do is once we've have a defined description, legal description of that lot, we will actually record, when you restrict your lot, you only
Mhm.
sign it, so it really only requires the owner's signatures to restrict their lot. Your signatures wouldn't mean anything on the document. So once that is done, and that probably won't be done for a while, we will record the covenant, but we can sign an agreement for the covenant tonight. I just wanna let you know, it won't go on record because we haven't legally defined the lot yet. But
So
we
you
know we're
will
restricting
submit
it
that
wherever
prior
it
to
will be.
initiating business. You will submit a
Right.
copy of that to us,
And I
saying
would
we've
do
done
that, I
this.
would let the board know before that went on
Mhm.
record.
Okay.
And you'll probably be in the loop on, you know, this legal description of the property anyway.
and the owner's not gonna change in the meantime, right?
Correct.
Right.
And I will, but what I would suggest is we can sign this, the agreement tonight. I will get it to them to sign, and then we'll have an agreement signed, and then the actual covenant, we'll just take your names off, have them sign it, and record it.
Okay.
How long do you think it'll take for them to sign and return this?
The,
An original signed
Host
document?
agreement?
Yeah.
I will, as soon as I get that back, I'll overnight it to them, they'll overnight it back.
Okay. Because I would just make the recommendation, we give them the letter once it gets back.
Right, well, he'll need a day or two to get that ready.
Not a big deal, it's just-
Just
Yeah,
fine.
we'll get it, it'll get done.
That's all.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
went down to less than a week, finally.
okay. We had the vote, right? No.
No,
On the host community agreement, but this is to sign
Yeah,
the
and then
covenant?
the second one's the covenant.
Yep.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the
Consent.
process
Sign.
of filing the covenant as Attorney Cranston proposed.
second motion.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote?
Right.
Aye.
Okay.
So, do you want to,
That's the covenant.
Sign away here.
yes. Do you need
So what I'll
two of
do
these
is,
copied so they can sign two duplicate originals? One for them, one for us?
if you'd like,
That way,
We're gonna get
it's
one-
just easier that way.
We're gonna get one back with everyone's signatures in a couple days, so I don't know.
Then we
if it's-
can, shred the one that's complete.
Well,
so we'll
oh,
do.
I wasn't so worried about the covenant, that's gonna get filed. I meant the host agreement. Did you want?
And I will, you can give me a buzz when, actually, I can sign that. So you're gonna, I'll pick that up tomorrow after you notarize it.
Yes.
If I'm correct, the state doesn't need copies of either one.
No, they only
Use
want the,
Letter of non-opposition / support, whatever that means.
correct.
We'll have to have Fay notarize this.
Yeah.
This is one of two
Should I
copies.
sign them?
This
I'd
one's
like
signed.
to thank both you gentlemen on this. It's, we've broken a lot of ground here. It's been, I know it's taken longer than some wanted and probably less than a few others, but I think it's been done as the best everybody could. Thank you. Thank you, Jim, I appreciate it.
If you don't mind, Charlie, I was gonna make a comment. I thought this progressed rather rapidly.
Yep.
Under the circumstances with an interim town administrator, a board that started off when this was first submitted without the third member. The election of that third member took place after the submittal, and I think since then, things have moved along rather rapidly.
I tried to get up to speed.
Yeah. Well, we thank you.
Okay, so failed to start up to me.
You call me first? I have a busy morning.
Of course.
Thanks.
All right.
Uh,
Thank you, everyone.
Covenants are on.
Thank you.
To meetings.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Paul.
the time. Thank you.
Make sure we get all these.
So that's already signed.
Sign this, sign that.
That one's already done.
Yeah, that one's done.
Okay, so Kay needs those. You should have 2 of each signed now, Kay.
Yep.
So I'll just see
Thank you.
if we need to notarize them both or not.
I don't
So,
know, I'm not I don't think I have you guys' information on file for notary. So if you can stop up, or Wednesday, come up.
Get a copy of the license.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you realize it's on you guys?
Oh, we have to sign that. Yeah.
I think I have yours, Charlie, but,
Hmm?
I think I have yours, but I don't think I have yours.
Yeah, you have to sign a little into a book.
Sign into the book.
Yep, when you notarize stuff.
Typical notary stuff.
Yep,
All right.
I'm a notary.
Okay, so the letter of non-opposition, then we need to make any motion for Phil to do this, or is he just doing this? We don't need a motion for that, do we?
I think we're all,
Authorize him to sign.
Yeah.
Well,
He's
no,
not signing
he's not
it.
signing, he's gotta, just
Just
gotta
to
prepare
draft it up and then tell us when it's ready for us to sign.
It won't hurt.
All right, well, I'd like to make a motion then that we have Phil prepare the letter of non-opposition on the town's letterhead for us.
Read out, amend and second that motion where you would draft it up, prepare it, we would sign it, but we would hold it until we receive the countersigned host community agreement documents back. And then we can issue the letter or give it to Paul or however it gets to the state. Does that
Great,
come
I'll
from
se-
us
I'll
mailed to the
second the
state or does that
modified
go
motion.
through the
Well,
contractor?
submit with your package.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks. All right, you ready?
okay,
Let's
call for
power
vote.
through.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Go ahead. The next thing we have is the Colebrook RV Resort license.
Mhm.
The outstanding has been paid, so I'm asking for the board to sign and approve a common victualer's license, a entertainment license, an inn holder's license. And to release the liquor license, which I'll have you guys sign
Did they-
that Thursday, Wednesday.
Did I miss, did they catch up on all their bills?
They did. A week ago.
Have they been operating without the license?
I don't know that.
I never drove out and checked myself.
What's the outstanding taxes?
There's nothing now.
Oh,
I would think we ought to discuss something about that too in the future. If things do come late, if they operate without a license, we should consider looking into fines if they operate without the license to make sure these things, you can't just go business as usual.
I'm just not sure if that would have to be in the bylaws, right?
Well,
One and a half, so you can not issue.
I don't
I
think
don't know if there's any
Fining?
penalty.
I don't know if
I think we
there's
should
penalty.
we should
it's
look
like,
at that.
what are the
fake-
penalties for operating without a license?
It would just make the payments more expedient, I think, if they can go ahead and run without it and not have any repercussions
Well,
for
they
it,
can't.
then business would,
They can't, well, they can't do certain licenses without any,
Right.
they can't do certain things without a license, I mean, they're major problems. Okay, we're all set for that, call for a vote, in favor?
Uh,
Did-
Did we get a motion?
No,
I didn't
no
hear. a
No,
motion.
we didn't get a
there's no
motion.
motion, I was trying to discuss.
Yeah, okay,
um,
I'm sorry.
Possible penalties.
Sorry
in the
about that, I
future
lost my-
If in the event there should be,
Assessing penalties for non-renewal
what
or.
would we have to do to look into that?
Live entertainment,
Do what?
common
To
victual.
rescind it?
To assess penalties for,
Penalties under
If they-
circumstances
if-
where they illegally operate
Right.
without a license. Well, you could pass a bylaw. I mean,
so that would have to go to the town meeting, so it's something for next year,
if
obviously,
you're
not
gonna make
this
a
year,
bylaw,
but
yeah, you go to town.
something to think about before this
The
comes out
board
next
could-
year.
Without a bylaw, maybe establish a policy.
I have a question. Could you establish a fee for, like if you renew after a certain date? that the fee changes.
We could
From-
incorporate that into a bylaw, yeah.
I'm just saying, because with the fee schedule, it's a
Administrative
public
late fee or
hearing
something.
process.
Yeah,
So could you establish a late fee, so to speak?
Charlie, you have a question?
if that's what you want. then-
I'm just asking.
Charlie, we have a
You
question.
can put it in there.
Something we could review and see if it's something we
Maybe
want.
we could
We have a
take
question in the audience.
the thought you have.
Question in the audience.
kind of
Okay, yeah, just a minute.
massage it
Thank you.
into a proposal,
No reading
I
ahead.
know, I'm just.
Get it to the Attorney General's office to see if they'd approve it.
I got you. Do the preliminary
The end
review
result
and then,
is, even if the town meeting votes it, the Attorney General has to approve it.
Right.
So we could
Then they
throw-
vote on it and
we could
register it
throw
as
kind
done.
of a preliminary draft or whatever you want to call it, and see what they would say, whether it's something they'd say, no way, or whether it's been done in other towns and they'd say, no problem.
I would think it's
Okay.
done, just,
It's gotta be
I'd be
done.
surprised.
Okay.
Okay, Claire?
How can they operate without a license? When did this license expire, this one that they came in for?
there's 3 licenses here.
December 31st.
So have they been?
They're seasonal, so I don't know what their opening day
Yeah,
consists of.
because I just want, that they can't operate without a license, that would be against state law.
Well, in
Yeah,
in
liquor
years
licenses
past,
and stuff are very, very clear.
years ago,
Well, the
in
liquor
Snowmobile
license
out
in
there,
the
you'd see
States, you
people there year
technically
round.
didn't get.
Yeah,
So if there's people
Denied.
living there, staying there, functioning, I
We
think it's
just held
operating
it
outside the
ourselves.
license. That's why I'm saying, it's not to get them for fines, it's to get them to stay up with stuff and be current.
yeah, but they should have that license, they should know, should, the police.
And I
should
don't,
make
and I
sure
don't know,
they're not.
I don't wanna try to accuse them of running without a license now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to find that there's campers there and people getting ready for the season already.
If I'm correct,
Um,
like a common victuals license might be something that is enforced by the Board of Health. So if they don't have a license, it might be the Board of Health saying you gotta close whatever they use
Yeah.
for serving food.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't being
I think in the case of the county.
a tough guy on it and checking them out to see if they were running, I just wanted to talk
That
about
might
it for
have
the
a state
future.
fine.
Yeah, I'd have to research that.
So, right, we can work through that and see what's existing and see if there's anything we should add.
Somebody should.
And then just
Yeah.
double check like on, who's,
Whatever business as usual's been, we may want it to change, so we're
Jim.
not gonna run down and try to catch
do you know
them
who would be
Yeah.
the
now, but try to
enforcing
make upfront
agency for
changes
like
and
a
let it
live
be
entertainment
understood.
license?
I'm big on understanding
Or-
what's expected.
An in-holder license?
Probably building.
Yeah.
Well, we issued a license though. But you could probably send your,
If there's a violation, though, you're not gonna run out.
Right, if they're acting
with the building.
without a license,
Code
who's the
enforcement.
one that goes out to say, you're acting without a proper business license
Probably
for,
the two choices would be the police or the zoning enforcement officer.
Mhm.
Or both.
okay,
Ought to be both.
And you could spell that all out.
Right.
all right, make it much easier for someone else down the road, okay,
Or have a constable serve them.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Once again, I'm not trying to imply they're doing anything wrong right now, but. to
Just how
keep
do
an
we
eye-
approach it
keep
if
an
there
eye
is
on
a
the future.
situation,
Right,
that's all.
establish some
Okay.
rules and procedures and policies or bylaws that they'll understand up front, which I think would
Yeah.
encourage them to keep their payments timely.
Yeah, we can revisit this at any time, too.
Right.
We have that authority.
So on that, I would make a motion to reissue their licenses,
I second that.
issue their licenses,
Okay,
yes.
no further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you.
You know, with all the licenses you issue, you could adopt some
Mm.
rules and regulations for each category that you know, they have to do this.
Rather than
they
write
have
a
to do
line
this.
item.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's a
thought we-
shopping list that you'd have to make up and you could be, I'd say creative, but you don't wanna be too creative, because that would just
It
Probably
just makes
result
things
in-
cumbersome.
litigation to probably overcome a situation where you're trying to enforce it. and
6
it's not
signatures,
enforceable.
3 pages.
Not trying to overcomplicate it, that's for sure.
Seems like we
I think
did
we can
that
get
at
to a
one
point to
time.
simplify it, yep.
Seems like we did that at one time, but I'll have to, I got notes on all kinds of stuff.
I think we got some, but it wasn't very comprehensive, so it
Okay.
kinda like chose this particular license or this particular.
Dennis, you had a
license.
question?
I think you're right,
Yes,
we
in
kinda,
the spirit of cooperation, I'm on the last of the agenda tonight. Can I be bumped up so I
Yep.
can have a seat, please?
Yep.
You just want to watch
I
yourself.
enjoy your company,
You got
sir.
money on the game?
Will you stay anyway?
I'm not a gambler. Don't have money to gamble with.
All right.
Do we need to do this last page, Faye?
No.
No, okay, I didn't think so.
Receipt for payment or whatever that page, is that what that is?
Here you go. Thank you. Okay, we'll take it up right after we get through old business, okay? We only got a couple more items. And okay, we have the revised recycled procurement policy.
Will look at me?
The last one was done and revised in December 1998, and I'd like to make it more current. I've added some items from other
Okay.
municipal policies that I think might be productive
Okay,
That's in your packet.
in your packet. The old one and the new one are both there.
okay.
There we go.
Yeah, you and I went over this, as I recall.
You want one copy?
Okay.
Super. Gets boring here alone.
What's the wishes on the board on this? Do you want it laid on the table for a meeting, or adopt tonight?
You guys mind to table it for a week, so,
Yeah,
or for the next
that's
meeting?
fine.
We got a lot to go through tonight, and I'd like to read it more before we
Okay.
move through it.
I don't think we need to vote on that. Do you want to vote? I don't think we need
Just
to
read-
table it for now and
Oh.
take it up. We'll just put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay, Phil?
All right. The reason I redid it was that we had sent it out as part of a review by other town departments, and it was sent out without the CEO, notably me, sort of initiating it, and it got kicked back, so
For a grant.
we have to submit
correct?
it, resubmit it, and so I just made the changes as long as we're just being reviewed anyway, or, I think we can wait for another meeting without any jeopardizing.
Is there a grant? There's a grant waiting for this, correct?
There is, I'm not sure what the deadline is.
Do you think if we threw it on the selectmen's meeting agenda for
Well, could he sum
5
it up
minutes
for us,
before
maybe?
7 o'clock Wednesday?
Could he go over the pertinent stuff quickly, so we don't have to spend the time on it?
Either way.
And understand it? That'd be better?
If you did what?
Do you
The
want to
changes.
go through the changes for us quickly, so we're not trying to compare and read ourselves,
Okay,
and then we can expedite it?
all right. Well, looking at the old one versus the new one, I just added some subtitles, paper reduction, printed materials. I added additional items as a category, and added guidelines as well.
Mhm.
If my quick reading is correct, I think the 3 conditions that were there before were not changed.
No, they're still in there, I'm just adding
You
some
just added
additional
So these are
information.
just additional ones in this
Right,
page?
the
Okay.
additional items plus the guidelines.
Okay, so we will take that up Wednesday evening.
Unless you guys are just,
You want to do it tonight?
Yeah, this looks straightforward. Is there any sort of, containers and things we need to provide all the departments to make sure they're separating these things properly? I mean, if we're asking them to put all this stuff and separate these things, what sort of investment are we gonna make in that to,
Good question. I can talk to the custodian to see how it's done now, and whether we should modify it.
I
we
think
just-
there's bins, in this particular building, and I believe in all the rest, there's recycling receptacles that, Tony Mobilio, who's our municipal janitor, collects, and we have a recycle bin out here that he places things into.
so he separates them, and we need to separate them further, that's what I'm asking.
We separate them currently
And we have enough.
in office.
And these further additions are okay to separate? I'm just saying, before we tell people they need to do all these
Yep.
new items and further separations, that
I mean,
that they
speaking
have the
on,
ability to do
speaking
it.
on behalf of our building, I think that there's no change would need to really occur
Okay,
with our building. I can't speak on behalf of everyone's, but I would assume Tony is really good at recycling.
okay.
So I think if he had an issue with any of the buildings that he
Then I would
manages.
make a motion then that we accept the changes. And,
Second the motion?
Okay, discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
They're changed.
Okay.
Do we need to sign that?
And I gave Matt an original where to sign.
Thank you, Phil, for
Yep. I like
Writing
the
that up
la-
again,
I like the
cleaning
layout of
that up.
that one better. Much cleaner to follow.
Well, it's not blurry either. It's horrible, the other one.
Phil's been working on some of the, what do they call it,
He's
the
trying to
whole
bring back
streets
why-
program, the streets.
Complete streets.
Faze, let's go
Complete
back to you to
street.
Phil.
I'll take it,
You want it?
yeah.
All right. Oh, hold on.
Thank you.
That's why we asked.
Thank you.
He was just trying to read that blurry page, that's my eyes. I was like, I can't believe this now, I'm not in the middle of this. That was a horrible print, that one. Not the new one, the old one.
Okay, before we,
We have one more thing. Southbury basketball.
yeah, that's what I was.
court.
We've had some discussion, and there was a brief discussion at our last meeting about this, and we had received a letter that was anonymous, and we have received another.
This one's signed, isn't it?
This one is signed. I can read it into the record. This is addressed to,
This one's not signed.
what this one is. Yeah, the one I got in here is signed. You got a different,
Oh, there's another one?
yeah.
I think you have the original, not the follow-up.
Okay, well, anyway, it's addressed to the three of us and Bill, the town administrator. That one.
Okay.
Signed. And this was in reference to a discussion that we had briefly last meeting on regarding basketball playing in the road down on Nelson Street, which is in South Barry. After you go by the store, Nelson Street would be the heading towards the Catholic Church. Nelson Street, just by way of reference, is the first road on the right. It's addressed to us, ball playing should be in the Nornay Immigrant Park with parents to sit in on benches. The site is already there, put the basketball hoops back that were already there. Have the police, I can't.
Direct the children to the
Oh.
park to play.
Yep. Well, off the streets, there's lots of people can view the children, the spotlight is there, permanent asphalt. There's a fence that's near the Bradford Apartments, where the private patrons go in and the police can watch it. Children playing need to be careful, watch out. The park is a better, I think a word mission, better solution than Nelson Street. Private people cannot all the hoops they want and play in proper places on the proper properties, not in the streets. And it was signed by Mary Baden. And I think I took some time, I spoke with Mary Ann about this, Gendron, and we're trying to set up better parking in South Barry. They're putting it in the parking lot, probably isn't the best neither, but there are hoops up in High Plains, just right at the top of the hill, at the ball field there. And one of the things we thought is if it's there, maybe we could contact the housing authority and seeing if they would assist in putting something, a playground in that area for basketball hoops, and it would keep the parking lot. This is potentially a problem where I'd like to see some of the cars off of Vernon Ave. It gets difficult to see around that corner by the old personnel office, which is now a store. But it's hard to see what's coming if the cars are there, and I think we need to take a look at the parking. But that was my thought. They had that idea, actually. And I don't know what the board members think. I think it would be probably maybe a better arrangement in the parking lot, because we're going to be painting the lines and all the curbing and everything, so.
And did you see this letter we got also from Mary Ann Gendron?
What? Oh. This came from Mary Ann, dated May 8th. I was just informed Nornay Park was brought up regarding putting basketball hoops at the park. Nornay Park does not want any basketball hoops. We have had it in the past. There was a lot of turmoil and damage to the park. We want a respectful park. An occasional game of football is quite different from continuous basketball, kids playing daily. We worked very hard to bring the park up to where it is today. We have a basketball court in High Plains and one in Rice Park. Excuse me. And that was from Mary Ann Gendron. Thank you.
I think that's all
What?
I think that's all we have on it, so those 2 letters.
Yeah. So I don't know what the board would think about that idea. I think I did take a drive up through there. There was a basketball hoop just as you go around the corner. It's in the.
On the road.
You mean
It
just
is.
up at High
Yeah,
Plains?
it's on the edge.
Or on Nelson?
What?
In Trafalgar Square you're talking
Yeah,
about?
exactly. The one I saw was on Trafalgar
Oh.
Square, but it's not too far from Nelson Street. I can tell you. I don't know if you saw it, but it's close. And it's about as close to the street as it can get. I think we saw that. That was pretty clear.
Well, I know when I grew up, this is just my experience. When I grew up, you were on a somewhat of a quiet road that the only people driving on it were your neighbors. Hoops were right on the sidewalk all the time, and people were playing in the street. And it's a fine line between getting in the middle of neighbors trying to figure out how to get along and an outright bad situation going on in a neighborhood. I'm not there living it every day, so I don't want to speak to the specific situation saying use of this is over the top. Maybe there's bad language, other things I don't know that whole story, so I don't want to. I'm just saying I loved knowing I could play just some basketball on my street and not worry about it if it was the old, hey, watch out, cars coming, and then you go back and. So I have a hard time want to regulate where people can play. It's kind of, if they can do it and do it respectfully, that's one thing. If they're not being respectful, then there are other means and methods to clean that up. One of them would be call the police if they're interrupting traffic. Another is if they're bad language and all that, then you have a right to probably call, whether it's the police or someone else, about inappropriate public behavior. I'm sure there's certain rules and guidelines that apply that help guide that process. I'd rather see if they could find a way to maybe encourage them to go to High Plains and use that for a while to see if it works. Because I don't want to, because it doesn't seem that far away. But like I said, I don't like regulating out the right to just take advantage of your downtime and just be able to go within a couple houses and play some ball. You just got to be respectful with your neighbors and things like that, and not big on getting too in the weeds between which neighbor gets along with which neighbor. That's kind of the police department. That's just where I'm standing. So I understand maybe we don't want to do a lot with Nornay Park, but it sounds like we have some other opportunities, but we also got to figure out if there's a balance of, can they just find a way to talk so one knows what the other one's hoping for, and maybe there's a balance where they can actually play there and still understand what'd you say your name was? I apologize.
Mary Jane Bate or Beatty.
Yeah, Mary
Okay.
Jane, yeah.
Maybe Mary Jane has particular items that they might be able to work with, and all of a sudden they can do better together. Maybe it is the language, and if the language isn't so bad, maybe it's not as big a deal. Or maybe if you just really point it out and kind of encourage, or we find a way to make High Plains a better place for them to go anyway, then they just go there naturally because it's a nice court, and maybe what they need is a bench with a little shade or something, just so that when it gets hot, they can step out of the sun for a little while and then jump back on the court. So maybe that's something we could do to look at other options, is how I see it, rather than getting too much into,
You guys can take this under advisement.
Yeah,
Well, it may just be the need also, for another court someplace. I live across from Rice Park, and people use the court all the time. We have basically a basketball court, then we have, a climbing rock and some little teeter-totter things for very young children. And we don't have any problem with the young kids and the older kids playing basketball. Sometimes kids play basketball later than they're supposed to, but, when it was a skate park for a while, there was drinking, there was swearing, there was smoking, there's a lot of, undesirable activity after hours at night. But during the daylight hours, I think if kids want to play basketball, I'd like to see them have a place to play basketball. And if we can get another hoop up someplace, maybe it would take some of the kids out of the street. But same thing, I grew up playing basketball, street hockey in the street. That's what you had, that's what you did. But being respectful, moving for traffic is pretty important in that. And I don't know what
right, the
behavior's
dynamic going on
there,
down
so.
there.
Without getting too involved in that aspect, I would certainly be in favor of trying to get another hoop set up someplace for them. And if there's already a paved area for that, why not get another hoop on it? Even a half-court game, for 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 they don't need a full court. You need a place to shoot. I think you could certainly do something to move towards that. But I agree, I don't want to get into the neighborhood squabble unless we have to.
I think we need to think about it a little further and see what we can do.
okay.
No
Maybe
matter
you
what, we probably don't have much of a budget to do anything with it, other than think about it right now.
Just make a motion, take it under advisement.
maybe just bringing it up.
Yeah, I'd make a motion taken under advisement.
Okay, thank you.
Is it something that you have a recreation committee, don't you?
Yeah,
Maybe we could
Can we hand it to them?
throw it to them and see if they have any thoughts.
We'll see.
Oh, and you're a constable.
I can tell myself what to do.
okay.
So why don't we also make a motion?
I make a motion to send this to the Parks and Recs Committee.
That's what I was thinking. I second that motion.
Okay.
Advise them what's going on.
Aye.
Okay, boy, you're getting fast at this. You're not even waiting for the votes anymore.
The kids can easily walk.
And it's appropriate, we took up basketball at 8 o'clock.
But they're-
Down at the bottom of the hill.
But I think the thing we're gonna find it down there is that there's a good-sized population of kids who wanna play basketball. There's probably not enough space. You may walk up there and find out there's plenty of kids playing already. Even the court down near me,
Another one up
the
there.
kids play in groups and they take turns because there's a lot of kids come down to play. They like to play basketball. I'm just not opposed to seeing another hoop up somewhere if we can.
And if they're playing there, you know where they're at.
Yeah.
They're outside getting healthy.
And you have,
Idle hands, as they say.
you never know, I think the, what is it, the leading rebounder in the nation is from Worcester in college. St. Bonaventure started at Chandler Street, if I'm not mistaken. Seen him play UMass many times.
Okay, so we voting on sending this to the Recs?
What?
Are we gonna vote on sending this to the Rec?
Okay.
We gotta get through
I
this
just
stuff.
had to throw that
I know,
in. Every
I know.
time I drive by there,
It's
they're
already-
always using that court, and I think of him, and He was in the paper somewhere.
So that's a no.
What? You don't need to know, okay.
So since that's a no, we're not going to a vote?
Yes, we're ready to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I won't go there.
Okay,
Okay, now Dennis, I guess you're
Well,
on.
you can start to look to see what you can do to help with funding
Oh,
through your
absolutely.
budget.
I used to coach basketball at Quabbin, so right up my alley.
We can always get into fundraising for it or something if they want to, and
A little uptown, downtown league
volunteer
going.
labor is awful cheap. People wanna come help.
I don't know what the words, I'm sorry, I just said something. Nice intertown competition.
Stickball, we used to play a lot of, in the street.
See,
Tennis ball and a broom handle.
see, that was the best way.
One of the reasons I asked to be on the agenda was the fact that,
Yes.
you know, being with the planning board and conservation, going to do a lot of site visits, going to people's property, they have no idea who we are, we don't know them, they're new to town, whatever. It would be nice to have some kind of a lanyard ID that, you know, I could tell somebody, I'm on the planning board, here's my driver's license, that doesn't say anything, it just says who I am. I mean, nowadays, people would rather see an ID like with the town of Barry. We used to get a card, and it had the town seal on it and your position. That ended a few years back. I know, like with the fire department, their IDs, I believe, are made at the high school, because they make them up there for students, they have the machine up there. But I don't think it would be too much to ask that the conservation and planning board members get some kind of an ID for that. I'm having to meet with DEP people that don't know me from a hole in the wall, and I don't know them, so, we've been running into this more and more. It'd be nice to have some kind of an ID.
They're pretty quick
I just
down
have a
there.
question, or not a question, a comment. I know this was asked a few years ago. Heather, at the time, did ask the school if they could do that, and they were not willing to make IDs for anybody outside of fire.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, it's,
Yeah.
it's the school's property, the school's equipment, so we
Yeah.
can't make them make IDs. I don't know how,
I don't
You
know if
know-
it was a courtesy to public safety
Yeah,
that they
I
did that,
think
and I
so.
know police, they had theirs made from a police affiliated.
so we could certainly ask, the school again. Why don't we do that, why don't we ask them if they'd be willing to make some IDs, we're probably talking 15 IDs.
What about
Being on a
Sonny Tech,
rotate.
couldn't they make?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know if they have
They
the same
might do it
system,
too.
but we have this great facility right here in town, and it takes, they're 30 seconds, they
Yeah.
take a picture and print it out. We'd
They
have to
would pay
decide on the
us
format.
One has a picture of the person.
Well, I think if
Yeah,
you're
they
gonna
go
look,
in and take a photo, and it prints it right out in a solid card.
well, I think if you were gonna make any IDs, it would be, I would say you would either do it for, all the town employees, or, not just some,
You do it for the
Just
town
because you
employees
may
that are
run
gonna be
into,
going
say-
outside of an office to do their job. You don't necessarily do it for someone that just comes into Henry Woods and sits at a desk all
Right,
day.
and because they have to go out and deal with the public, they need to
You
present an
never know.
ID. And perhaps maybe the DPW might, because they are certainly out in people's properties and doing things, but I don't know if everybody needs an
I was
ID.
only thinking like, for this sake of, say, you decided to do, like you said, 12 of them, it happened to be those two boards, well then, let's just say Board of Health ran into that same person and they say, hey, where's your ID? And then they're like, I don't have an ID, and that person says, well, wait a minute,
Well,
this
well,
group
the
did,
Board of
why
Health-
don't you?
But that's an example,
Maybe not.
the Board of Health should be something that has, because they are gonna go out to properties and
And
do
building
things.
inspector.
And the building, when
Right.
the building inspectors, and I'd be surprised if they don't have an ID as a building inspector from the state, they should have a state ID.
Well, I think the state has a building inspector's license from the
Right,
state,
there
like
should be
you
a
said.
license they present from the state, just like a building license.
Mhm. I mean,
So
we can inquire to the school, or even like Claire said, Monty Tech as a
Yeah.
second option.
Why don't we do that and get back to this for our next meeting? And see if either one is willing to help us.
Sure.
And if we can offer the cost for the cards, it's something trivial, it's a couple dollars a card if they wanted us to pay costs.
I'm not sure.
It's something we could manage to come up with a couple bucks, I think.
I have one more thing, if I may. We had located the old Wyman American flag. It used to be, Charlie Wyman had it made for his house.
Mm-hmm.
We got him to donate it to the town, or his estate to donate it to the town. And it got in a little bit of disrepair, so it's down at the Legion right now. That's where I wanna go when I leave here. And we're wondering if we can ask the selectmen to authorize the fire department to put the flag up for Memorial Day and 4th of July, because those were the 2 days that we promised the Wyman family, and that's why they donated it to the town.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty large flag, you
Yeah.
guys probably seen it up there before. But it got a little torn because of, you know, the wind and whatnot, so we're fixing that. And we'd like to ask permission to get it put back up.
So, we looking for our permission to put it on the flagpole, or to get the?
No, go
No, it
in
won't
front
go
of
on
the
a
town
flag.
hall.
It's huge, it covers almost
Flag
the whole
down-
front of the
It
building.
hangs down the front.
That would be up to the fire chief, I think, if you want, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not gonna just go ask him, I'm asking you,
Yeah,
his
right.
boss. so.
I'm, yeah,
As far as I'm concerned, you can do it.
They've
and-
done it before.
Oh, they've done it several times,
I
yeah.
don't think the department.
It goes
would
the
want
width
to
of
do
the building, and pretty much the whole
Yeah.
entrance, it's
20
huge.
by 30 flag, I think.
Have you not seen it?
I have not seen it.
It
It-
covers the whole front of the building.
Yeah, it's impressive. I think one of the neat things about it, if I'm not mistaken, it has 48 stars on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Whitman had it made years ago.
Yeah, it's old, yeah. It had 48.
Somebody, I don't know who did it, I'm thinking it might have been Phil Stevens, because he used to fly around with his parasail, or whatever that thing's called. There's a nice aerial photo of it,
Mhm.
it's really cool,
I
Yeah.
think I've seen that picture.
yeah,
Mm.
pretty neat.
All right,
I'd make a motion to approve the hanging of the flag on the front of Town Hall for Memorial Day and July, Independence Day
Right.
holidays.
Because all the apparatus was already put up years ago, we just clip it onto it. But it takes the ladder truck or a couple of guys at ladders, because
Is it normally just on for a few days at a time?
Mhm.
Okay, I was just curious, I couldn't remember that.
I second the motion.
Okay,
thank you.
in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Now, that motion was to approve it to be able to do it, not to tell the chief to do it now.
I'm sure them,
Just so that people understand
I'm
what I
sure
meant by
that'll get
that.
done
It's
without a
just-
problem.
Yeah, I
The
know.
chief wants to, I'm not gonna say no.
all right. We have Adam next.
Yep.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
Get the Celtics score on there ready for us?
Okay.
I wouldn't have asked if I didn't.
Hey, don't get me started on rebounding in Worcester again, okay?
All right, all right.
We're gonna, our 0-3 Celtics.
That's good.
Let's stick to business. I just got
They're off to a good start.
kind of given a hard time about rebounding with a guy from Worcester. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess some questions had come up, Adam, about some of the IT issues and making sure people around this building and some of the other buildings were up to date. I think it came up, as you may have heard, at a finance meeting. I know you've been very involved down at the public safety building, getting that thing off the ground with the contractors and stuff. And I guess it just came in for an update, and I don't know if you have anything you wish to bring up with us tonight.
Yeah, so I guess I'm really just coming here today to provide an update as far as where I'm at with IT projects, what I've been doing for the past couple of months. So some of the major projects I've had is I worked with the Second Tree Middle School in Rutland in March and early April. Actually, no, end of February, early March, to install Wi-Fi inside the building. That was a 3 to 4 week project. It saved Rutland over $100,000 versus going with a vendor. So I worked with the DPW to go and install Wi-Fi.
Did they do that just under their normal yearly operational budget, or did they pay extra for the service?
It came out of an article.
So they they're paying beyond their normal IT agreement portion of
You're talking about the salary or the expense?
his time,
Salary.
yeah.
No,
So your time came out of just the normal agreement,
correct.
okay.
So we, so I did the Wi-Fi, we rolled out next gen 911, so there's a new 911 system for the area, a lot of great benefits from that. They did a remodel of the dispatch center, so there's been a lot of wiring that has to go into that, a lot of network equipment planning. And that's basically gonna become the hub for all the servers for both Barry and Rutland, which brings in a lot of savings. I can buy less servers here, I can buy less servers here, I'll be able to buy less batteries for here. And basically what happens is this building becomes a failover for dispatch. But the majority of the equipment and the server software is actually gonna be inside the dispatch building, which I've been working on, all the planning, network mapping, and then just started a couple weeks ago actually installing the equipment. It's gonna be a slow process because it has to be done after business hours because it takes down the entire network for everybody, which obviously isn't good for business operations. People can't access their applications. So I'm hoping to wrap that up in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Been working on getting the pricing down for the public safety building. I know we did get that. I'd say it's a large amount, 100 grand for equipment in there. So I don't wanna stick to any numbers, but it's looking like I got that down to about 50%, cheaper than what we were initially thinking, which is good, cause the first vendor we used, which was a vendor the town's been using forever, was, even more than 100,000, so, we got that price down a lot.
Did you use the cameras we talked about with the self-contained memory in them?
So what I'm gonna be doing is actually putting those, this isn't final, but I'd be looking to actually be putting those here, and then pulling the licensing, which is a huge cost with the way the camera software licensing goes, and taking the licensing from this building and bringing it to the new public safety building. The reason I would do that is because we use Vigilon here, and then in every other public safety department within dispatch uses a Vigilon. So rather than putting, in any new systems they don't want on a Vigilon. So rather than making a mismatch, where they're planning on upgrading the software down the road, they're applying for grants, it makes sense, I think, to move the Vigilon software, save that, it was like 15,000 for software licensing, save the 15,000 for software licensing, bring it to the public safety building, and then put cameras here that don't need software licensing.
Gotcha.
Because we don't have someone sitting here monitoring cameras 24/7, we're not exporting video all the time, it's really just to catch, if something happens.
To go back if
we
needed.
go back.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing booking monitoring, we're not doing two-way audio, we're not doing access control integration, so. But a simpler camera system here, which will be those self-contained ones.
Good.
And it works in a double because it's refreshing the infrastructure here, which needs to be refreshed as far as cameras.
Gotcha.
We got a lot of the cameras were bought used, we got black and white cameras still, cameras that aren't working, so it's actually killing two birds with one stone and saving money, so.
Okay, good.
Then I started working with, so I started looking at that internship that I was trying to get, and when I initially posted it, I did not get much. I just posted again, knowing college is wrapping up, and kids are looking for summer internships. And I started working with Money Tech. So I went out there a couple times to talk about how we could be working with them, both on graphic design projects. ID badges would be perfect. And those are things I think they actually do. If it's a small enough project, they do for free for the town, which is good to know.
Is that question?
So I started building that relationship, working on getting us an account set up there so kids will actually be able to come here freely. Basically, we just gotta make sure everybody's quarried through their system. We can't share a quarry, so it's. But I'm working with them on that. And then, so I did repost the IT. I'll be interviewing people this week, and then if I have to, again next week. Narrowed it down. I have a tech coming from another school district that's gonna help with vetting. But I did actually get a lot more. I got 26 people this round, which last time I got like 5 or 6, and they weren't really relevant to IT. And when you do online job postings, people just check all and click apply.
Yeah.
So you get some weird applications, but
I wanna build apps.
yeah. So that's actually looking pretty good. And I actually got quite a few high school kids. Some local kids. I think I got 1 or 2 from Barry, Hubbardston. I don't think I got anyone from Oakham or Peterson, but definitely got some surrounding communities. I've migrated all the servers out of this building, so we actually don't have anything in this building anymore as far as applications. As far as end users know, nobody knows that. I don't think anyone's experienced that they knew that the servers had been moved. But we actually don't host anything in this building anymore. It's all in Rutland, which just serves better because they're building, again, 911 paid to put in dry fire suppression. We have $40,000 UPSs. We have the generator contract over there. They have, so it's just a more reliable infrastructure. If there is a fire, we're not going to lose everything because of dry fire suppression versus wet. So I moved all the servers over, and now I'm in the process of deploying. It's called it's like a remote app software. So I'll be moving the accounting software, Vadar. We've been having some issues with Vadar. It times out all the time, and that's hosted with Vadar, and they get kicked out, I guess, every now and then. So we'll be implementing our own version of how Vadar deploys their apps. So that way there I can make sure we have proper bandwidth, proper, the things they need so it doesn't get timed out. But basically any town application that we need is going to be in the software. So what will happen is if, for example, this building burns down, town operations will still be able to work because they'll be able to access any of their programs from any computer.
Are source documents gonna stay on C drives, or are you creating virtual storage locations?
So that's the next step, actually. So that's what I'm hoping the intern's gonna help with. So we're moving everything to Office 365 and Azure Active Directory. So basically nothing. So as far as documents and stuff, that's all going to be stored in the cloud. So it's a little different. So we're going to be backing up when it comes to personal documents and files. That's going to live in the cloud, and then we will back them up on site on top of whatever Microsoft's doing to back up their stuff. And then for applications, those will run on site and then be backed up in the cloud. So some things will be, like when you're accessing your email, it comes from the cloud. But if you're going to access, we'll say, the accounting software, it's actually going to be coming from one of our buildings. But if it's coming from our building, it's backed up to the cloud. If it's coming from the cloud, it's backed up to our building. That makes, I don't know how technical you want me to.
No, that was generally what I was asking. I got you.
Yeah, and then the project I've had, I guess it's been long-term that I did kind of put a hold on was the website, and that was mainly because we've had such change, because the only thing left to the website was pictures. So we need town administrator picture of the chiefs, like basically all the department heads, and then the board. Now we have a full board, so it'll be easy to get pictures. And I think hopefully department heads are staying, so that's not gonna, we can get pictures of, I think we have a full all our department heads are full, so now would be a good time to get pictures. but when there was a lot of changing and then I had all these other projects coming, I just told the designer and the photographer, I said, let's just hold off until things settle down, and then I'll reach out. And I did reach out to them late April, and they're gonna come out here, they said late May, once there were more, once plants grew and more, and they would take more pictures of buildings and stuff. So there were a couple things they missed. But as far as budgeting purposes, that has to be moved over this year, so, this fiscal year. Yeah, and then the only thing I have is, I mean, and we did throw it in the budget, for a part-time person for Barry. I don't know if Rutland's gonna be able to fund that portion, so we're gonna have to redo the, regional agreement. But there's definitely a need for both, to have additional help. Cause there's two pieces, there's the day-to-day operations and then the projects. I've been prioritizing the projects more, because when I first started, it was all operations. It was internet went down, okay, now I gotta address that. This went down, now I gotta address this. And, passwords are forgotten, this is done, this, and it was, I was coming here at midnight, cause police were like, oh, can't access IMC, internet went down. So I focused on the projects, worked on making sure we got fiber, reliable internet, new infrastructure, and it's really addressed a lot of those issues. And now that we have new servers and stuff, I've been able to basically delegate like password resetting, which is something we weren't able to do. And obviously bringing up the security. There's been hacking going on, I'm sure everyone's seen in the news, but we are safe because we should be safe, I'll jinx myself. But we should be safe as far as any threats because of the platform I put us on, so we use basically cloud technology to make sure that we're up to date, so as soon as one person gets hit or taken down per se, the rest of the network gets updated automatically. So we're constantly getting updated in real time, so as soon as someone else with a Meraki network, that's the brand we use, was hit with this ransomware that's going around, or as soon as Meraki was notified, every network gets the update instantly. So we are pretty safe in that manner, which again saves on the operations time, because if we didn't have that, if I didn't focus on those projects, I would be most likely dealing with ransomware right now. And I know that ransomware was an issue before I started as well. Public safety was hit a couple times. And I know surrounding towns are hit all the time. It's become a huge issue. So I guess that's kind of, because I know there was an email basically saying that I should be focusing on day-to-day operations versus projects, but I'm looking at the longer term, and I just know the calls I've been getting, and I know, okay, so I look at it like, if you call me for this issue, I'm looking at it like, okay, well, if I can do this, this, and this, it's gonna take 4 weeks for me to accomplish that, but I know that you'll never have that issue again. Which is why I'm trying to, next step, after we get a strong, or sure we have the strong Wi-Fi in the building, is now this next fiscal year, I'll be rolling out devices like these, which have facial recognition, so we actually get rid of the passwords entirely, and now I don't have to reset passwords. Now nobody has to reset passwords. So again, it's just saving on that operations piece. But I think there's definitely a need for a part-time person to help with those operations piece, so I can focus on the projects and not get interrupted for a password reset, or my printer jammed and they need the printer unplugged and plugged back in, because that stuff happens. So I did put in the budget that I think we put 15,000 to try to get a part-time person to help with that. Now, when it comes to IT funding, according to Alignian Incorporated, it's a consulting company for IT spending. They were founded in 2001, and they recommend for organizations the size of Barry, revenue-wise, we should be spending 6.9% of our revenue on IT. I can tell you we don't do that. I think it's closer to 0.5%. So when we're being forced to implement digital processes, it's not getting done properly because, or it's going to be done roughly because the funding's just not there. So like, for example, we want to, like public records, I'll use that as an example. Really all of our documents should be digital, but we don't have the funds in the budget to pay for a digital document management system. So what happens now is someone requests a document, they say, I want it digital. We now have to spend time and money for an employee of the town to scan it and then email it. Where if it was in a document management system, it would just be a quick search, boom, send it up. And it'd actually be something that could be self-service where someone could search it for themselves. I mean, they don't even have to interact with the town. That's just one example. So I guess my push over the next months and years is gonna be trying to push to see how we can, because obviously I don't like when IT should never increase the cost, like the total operating budget. So let's say the town runs a $10 million operating budget. The goal isn't to increase that, it's to spend 6.9% of that on IT, for example, or 5% of it. And looking how we can save money in other areas to fund it. Because IT technology is supposed to bring efficiencies, not extra costs. And unfortunately, when you start doing things like leaving paper processes and then being forced to go digital, you're actually driving up costs. Because now you're still paying to maintain that paper, which technology was supposed to eliminate. You're paying staff to scan it. You're paying to maintain those scanners. So you can kind of see how it drives up the cost. So I think that's one of the things that, it's just a challenge that we have. And I think we'll get over. I've started working with Mass IT. We have a conference coming up. It's going to be held, I call it Ed Camp style. It's very popular in the education space. It's a non-technical conference, so it's to get town administrators together, department heads. So basically anyone in the leadership position in municipalities and schools to get in a room and then talk about the challenges they face, and then hopefully have someone in the room that's solved that challenge. So, for example, if there was a funding challenge, how did someone get over a funding challenge, or how did someone get over the public records challenge, or how did they get over? So that's something that I hope to hold quarterly, to hopefully help all the towns in this area, because it's not just Barry, it's not just Rutland that face challenges with technology. It's literally every community and schools.
In the short term, I do understand that the town clerk has been having some difficulties with our tracking system we tried to implement in the beginning. And what do you see in the short term being able to do to assist her, or what's your thoughts on that? Not saying you can't, I just...
Yeah, I'd have to follow up with her and see what exactly, because I know there was there was an issue, and I think a lot of the issues have been addressed, because what I did, again, it's just letting people collaborate, so like Rutland's done really well with it. So she started meeting with the clerk over there, and I think that addressed a lot of the issues.
Kind of having a peer that can help answer questions.
So I tried to build that, help facilitate that relationship, and I think it's worked. I think they talk a lot more now about tons of other stuff, which again, this is why towns need to talk. But so I'll just have to check up with her and see where the issue was. I know, so there were some issues, and I think they got addressed with the Rutland Town Clerk, and then there were some issues with the billing. So Zendesk, the company, applied it to the wrong account. I had 2 Town and Barry accounts when I was demoing it, and they applied it to the wrong one, so then the license expired. They submitted it and they should have corrected it, so I just gotta follow up and make sure, but other than that, I think it's, and then I think there were some passwords forgotten, because you have to log in with your email. I'm trying to simplify it, so rather than having 2 separate logins, they click log in with Google, sign in with their Google email. So I know there were some password issues. I just gotta follow up and see where it is.
I just know it was something that
Well, it's definitely a
It
concern.
was just something to, curious,
Didn't
where are
Tom
we at,
George
that's all.
have a concern? Didn't Tom George have a concern?
Yeah, he had
About-
a concern about a
People being able to find things themselves versus calling him and asking him questions, things that, I don't, this is a while ago, a few weeks
I
back.
do recall hearing a couple
Mhm.
items. One was regarding just, he's having a difficulty, I guess he's having a real cranky printer issue, and he's looking to get a new one, but something about procurement through you, and the steps to get there was just, it was hard for him to get a hold of you, because you've been straight out with these other things. So he didn't know how to close the loop on that, and the other was similar to with the website ideas, just like when we do the new website, who's gonna have the ability to go in, whether it's their own department or not, and make updates as needed and post new things? Because right now, it feels like nobody knows how to do it except maybe one or two people in the entire town, and it becomes a little bottleneck at the moment. And so I think those were a couple of the things that were coming up.
Yep, so those are the things I'm trying to eliminate, which is again why I delegated the password resetting. So I'm trying to, in the so yeah, as far as procurement, the Amazon, we have an Amazon account, and we can definitely set other people up, there's nothing stopping us. But I think that's probably the solution to that.
Yeah, and, you know, as long as I guess they recognize the guidelines that you need, so that might be the thing.
Yeah,
is-
department heads make purchases on their own anyway, so what's the difference of them ordering through Amazon versus calling WB Mason and ordering it that way?
Yeah, they just probably need to know what can go on your system, because I know sometimes certain places, they have certain, like, you need this type of computer, because it needs to be able to handle this type of software package, because we have a deal for all our computers, and we can't.
Yeah, so we did have a print company come in to look at printers, because that's just something simple, but I think they were $21,000 a year to manage our printers for us.
It's almost like a lease agreement thing.
I had stayed away from the leases, I didn't want to buy them outright.
Okay.
But it was for them to service the printer, so if someone had an issue with the printer, they would come out, replace the toner, fix the printer, whatever had to be done.
Sounds like a lot of money for a service.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam, I wanted to follow up on that. What is the status of the Connecticut Business Systems, review? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 21 grand was too much.
So we told them that it's too much money and.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that just Barry?
Yes.
Does that include the library and?
Yep.
Okay.
Included all
So
town
that's
buildings.
a lot of money for service. I
And,
can't imagine they had that.
I looked and we're not even spending $5 grand right now on printing.
Right, it's,
So it was gonna be tough to justify.
I agree.
Where again, 21,000, I pay an intern to go and. No, those are the things, like you gotta look at the cost savings, so yeah.
and I don't know,
Just a
so
minute.
this is just a question. I've noticed lately a lot of these Quabbin computer rebuilder guys signs all over. I don't know, do we have any local, maybe quote-unquote small-time guys like that? You could could you do this for me today, type in for like $200, he'll go and set up a printer, you know what I mean? Just do the setup just to stay out of your hair. But it's only as called, like an on-call IT guy to support you, so it's not a full-time, it's, hey, you got some time, you can do this next Wednesday?
Is that
I don't know if
something we'd have
you've
to
pursued
set
any
up?
of that.
Would we have to approve an on-call IT guy so he can just
When the
call?
numbers are low, you usually don't, it's just you've got a number you call, if it's $200, it's $200. It's not so much a
That,
procurement
we have-
thing
what
when
is our
it doesn't
limit?
add up.
Excuse
You
me?
gotta
Do we have a
limit
limit
the,
for that, how much he can call out for without having to have approval?
As far as IT,
As far as any outside repair or service?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Isn't it 500?
The procurement laws just changed not too long ago.
I think we're gonna have some kind of arrangement with, even a small-time person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's liability, and that's the other thing, so the small time, I mean.
it's like the towing service, the police just call whoever they want to go tow a
Yep.
car.
Yep,
It's whoever they pick up the phone and call.
No.
There's no agreement in place.
Yes, there is.
yeah, there is.
For all of them?
Absolutely.
Yes,
They had a
yes.
rotating schedule for the days they get.
Oh, yes.
Well, I
Very
mean,
strict agreement.
let me take that back.
I'm just
You
saying.
are correct, that was a bad example. I
I'm not
apologize.
saying, I think it's a good example, is my point.
But I just meant, I think sometimes as long as like the total for a year from any one individual doesn't exceed a certain amount,
And that-
then yeah, it's just, you can pick up the phone and call anyone.
I agree, and that's why I think the internship model and trying to get like that 15,000 in the line for additional labor makes sense, because, so
Less than
let's,
21,000, that's for sure.
let's say we get one of those guys, I mean, they're charging $80, 120. I think there's a local one that, Hubbardston and Ocam uses, and they're 120 an hour. Where we can pay an intern 11 to 15 an hour, and hopefully employ someone in the area that can,
You could spend a whole day on it for less than 1 hour.
Exactly.
No, I agree, that's the preferred, it meant more as the stopgap.
Yep.
I'm stuck, I need someone over here this week, I probably won't call you again for 4 months. You know, or that's all I meant, I didn't know if we had anything like that where you could,
Yeah, I've thought about that, and there's really not. It's tough. IT, and this is, I always think IT is like the Wild West right now. So it's like a crapshoot as far as what you can get. I think there's one. I mean, I think the one that Hubbardston Ocam, they do a good job, and but unfortunately, I don't think. I've talked to them about doing some stuff for Rutland, and they're just not interested. Is the
Okay.
other issue, because when you do a good job in IT, you can kind of pick who you want as customers.
I got you.
I think
Okay.
one thing that in the past, before we had Adam as our IT director, we did have that type of relationship with businesses where it was like on call, you just call them when you needed them. And I think the problem that we ran into is we, at one point in time, had about 5 different vendors working on our computer systems, so it became like an issue where this one would work on this end. We're all tied into the same server, so at any adjustment here, all of a sudden, this department over
Yeah,
here
it would have to
does
all
that
be
thing.
under his
Right.
I get what you're saying.
program, but.
I think long term, the push is to get. I think obviously if we can't, if I can't do the intern, if I can't get some long term part-time help, then I will be trying to find someone that I can do that with. Because obviously that's more helpful. If I'm trying to focus on a project and say, okay, if I can pay this guy, let's say the printer's gonna cost $600, and I know it's gonna cost them $100 to come plug it in, and they can just come plug the printer in, then yeah, it makes sense.
Gotcha.
But I mean, even that, you're looking at, say $1,000, 10 stops, that gets eaten up pretty
Yeah.
quickly. We're at $1,000 with intern, you say they work 10 hours a week at $15 an hour, that lasts a lot longer.
7 weeks.
Okay. No, I got you. And I understand the two extremes, you gotta find the
It's tough.
balance.
Yeah, that's tough. So I think my plan is, so I got the intern, which I hope, which everyone came back from college, which is what they said in their letter to me, saying, oh yeah, I just came back from college, looking for a summer intern. So I think this is gonna work for the short term. I'm interviewing, like I said, on Thursday, and there's really nothing stopping us from employing someone 22nd if we wanted to. Let's say I found someone. I don't know what, I gotta make sure I obviously follow the full process. But there's nothing stopping us. The money's there. If I can find someone qualified, then we'll have them. And then my plan is to use them for, so when I focus on a project like the Office 365 migration, their job after that is to provide training, and make sure that, people aren't calling me for other things, so I can focus on the next project.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, Claire? Yeah, I'm
When
sorry.
we're talking
No,
about
good.
replacing toner and that, don't the people in the department know how to do their own? In the business I was running,
Most.
they learned. There was at least one person that could just, because what does it take, 5 minutes? That's crazy to
I think that
hire
was more,
somebody from
I
the
think that was more of a
outside.
random example that we'd
Yeah.
understand than an actual task.
Yeah, there's other things that they do, and the company's more geared towards, like, we have a large copier,
Yeah.
and if that breaks, it's a little more
Yeah, I
complex.
can see copiers, but I'm talking about printers.
Okay.
So the plan though is to consolidate the printers,
Mhm.
because right now we spend, if you started looking at the electricity cost to power all those printers,
Yeah.
the toner costs, it jumps from like, I think it was like the printers we have now are in the high 20 cents or low 20 cents per page to print. If we consolidate it into one of those larger copiers, it comes down to a penny per page to print. So bringing that company in was also consolidating the printers to put in larger stations like the copiers. And then to also implement software. So when someone sends a print job, let's say the print job's over 5 pages, it will not print it. The person has to walk up to the printer, take a key fob and tap it on the printer to start limiting wasteful printing. And then it also implements rules. So let's say someone has a printer in their office. I was looking at redoing the entire printing as a whole, because I was trying to come up with cost savings to offset that 21,000 for them to maintain our printers. So the 21,000 was not for the same product we have now. It was for a completely different
Right, new system,
setup.
pretty much.
But right now, the department heads do replace their own toner.
The short answer, yeah, it's not for toner. It's
Yeah.
for,
Yeah, but they should be able to
No, they
do
can.
minor
They
stuff
can-
on
they
it
can.
too.
wow, to a point. Some of these things, when they integrate in the
I worked
computers,
with it, Greg.
yeah, but see
I'm
when they're
the
integrated in the
manager of the
computer
department.
systems,
And,
depending what goes wrong.
They learned how to do it. You taught them, and they handled
Yep.
most everything. Even when it stopped printing, you had a few tricks that you did.
Unplug, plug in,
Yeah.
Right.
which they
You know.
try it. We had,
Slam.
yes.
No, not slamming.
There are things you can do with
Slide
them
off the
that
table.
are just basic, and everyone should know that.
Right.
So
But
that
I
we
think he's
can
talking is just
copy it.
outside that. We assume there's gonna be basics, I would hope,
That's
and that we're
right.
talking outside that. not-
That's a lot of money.
And that's some of the things, like in the policies I put for public safety, there's steps they have to follow before they can reach out, like reboot the computer.
Yeah.
Like there's a checklist and that,
It
yeah, I
helps,
try
I'm
to make sure,
Yeah.
and
They
I show
need to
people,
do
and
it.
anytime I do something, I try to show them what I did. I think information's power, and the more they know, and the more that people can self-service, the happier they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I do try to make sure that people know. So if I fix someone's printer, I say, oh yeah, sometimes all you have to do is this and check this. So I would there maybe next time they try those steps.
Because you can even clean your own.
And there's a button on it to the printer.
No, but when you have to take them apart,
Oh,
I
yeah.
came across one that was a traveling
Yeah, I know.
computer, and you had to empty out an ink.
I do.
Oh.
Well, thank you.
That's-
I have no further questions tonight. I
Okay.
appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, we appreciate very good discussion even for the bead guys like myself.
It's good for everybody to know, I think, where
Yeah,
we're headed with
thank
that.
you.
Because IT is so important right now. And I think the things that have been happening, they're up to 140,000 organizations hacked on Friday across 74 countries. And obviously that's concerning because, it was to the point, you have these places like hospitals that are fully digital, and they were turning people down at the door saying, no, we can't help you. None of our machines work.
They interrupted surgeries in England. They couldn't even get surgeries going.
So
It's scary.
it's,
We're
Yeah, I
thankful
think-
for the system that we have.
yeah. But nothing's foolproof. Everything's gonna,
Mhm.
there's a hole in everything and,
They worked very hard to find them.
so, but I think it's important that we all know, but it's also making sure that we prioritize the security, because the state is pushing us in that direction.
Mhm.
Which is another benefit, I think, of these conferences in collaboration with Mass IT, is that they are at the state level, so they're gonna hear the challenges that we face, by attending these conferences. So hopefully funding models, if they need to change funding models, or if they need to change the rate that they're pushing communities, or change how they push communities. It's a challenge we all face, so the only way is by making sure everyone's on the same page and we're all working towards a common solution.
I got only one thing, but not really for discussion, just a kind of a put it out there, was recently we've had some communications about our coordination and our agreement with charter service in town, and what neighborhoods do or do not get fiber optic or broadband at all to their neighborhood because there's not enough houses or people on the street. And I know that there's a different committee for that actual agreement and discussion, but I also know you have some coordination you've been doing with them on
Yep.
different things. And I just didn't know if you see what you're doing as a potential benefit to some town members that we could do outside of charter in the future.
Yeah, I think I should probably schedule a meeting with the cable committee,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if there's actually a cable committee existent anymore.
because the agreement got
I think
signed.
We've
you're
got
right, the
Josh
agreement-
Smith as
I
the
think he's
link.
the only one left, so he can't hold a meeting.
Well, he can, it just doesn't, it's just, I need people to show up so we can talk, because that's all I meant, because he's got
Another
the,
option we have.
you're right, it's not an official
Yeah.
meeting, but,
Another option we have is CMRPC just
Mhm.
got approved to keep, I believe his name is Derek, he's been
Yeah.
working with us. So he just got approved another extension with us.
yeah, I saw
So
that.
so they've actually developed an internet service leverage committee, to work with, internet companies to make sure that Barry gets covered. And
Okay,
they're supposed to come at it at all angles, they're supposed to just say, here's what we want, who can deliver that? Whether it's gonna come over cellular, and I think now is the time to have those conversations. Has anyone seen what Greenfield did?
no,
Greenfield just deployed, it's gonna take 10 months, but they're putting in Wi-Fi and they're covering, I think it's 100% of Greenfield with Wi-Fi. To bring super fast internet to people, it's gonna be free, and then you can pay $9.99 a month for, like, I think it's a gig of speed, which is a lot of internet. About 100 times more than what we have now.
Is that running on the fiber system?
It's running out of their fiber system. So Greenfield did something like that, and that's something that I think, like, the committee of businesses, I think it's stronger when it comes from businesses, and the businesses say, hey, town, this is what we need.
Mhm.
How can we get this? Because businesses can do things cheaper because they don't have prevailing wage, out here. So I think with CMRPC working with them, I think that's an avenue that we can look at. They're a little more flexible. And then there's also, another reason why this is a good conversation right now is 5G is coming out in 2018. Verizon just spent $3.1 billion just to buy the frequencies. And they've already started building their 5G network. When that comes out, I think it's honestly going to eliminate the need for internet in your house. Because the speeds of 5G are so much greater than what we currently have. And just think about it, if you had a perfect 4G signal right now, would you, and unlimited data on your phone, would you ever connect to someone's Wi-Fi? No, because it's an extra step. People do what's easier. So I think it is a great conversation, even though the cable agreement's been signed.
Mhm.
I think it's still, the cable agreement's for cable, not internet.
Correct, and it's a 10-year agreement.
So it's a whole new conversation. that
When
we
was
can
it
have.
signed?
Maybe 2-3 years ago, roughly.
Did we ever get a copy of that so we can look at that tonight?
Tonight,
Yeah.
right now?
Did anyone get a copy?
Yeah, I think we have a copy upstairs.
Because I'm curious, because that's what we asked the gentleman in the gray shirt, Sean, he's the one that wrote us letters about it.
you too.
Oh, so that was you?
That was
Oh,
me.
okay.
The-
How convenient, I
My
did not know that was
My concern
him.
would be if our agreement didn't, require them to eventually pick up the whole town, in some sort of timely manner. It may, I don't know what it says.
I
but-
spoke to, let briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I spoke to Joshua, I had Joshua on the cable committee for a while. Like I said, the agreement was signed in 2014 in September, the franchise agreement, and so they only deal with cable, they don't deal with internet. That's the only agreement, however, that doesn't really matter because, cable companies, outside cable companies gonna come in and expand infrastructure if they're only gonna be able to offer internet, so it's kinda like
Yeah,
and so,
Which was another email we got.
yeah, and it's 30 houses a mile is what it is. It's there, so, to be able to actually, so that you only are required to pay $250 per setup fee, in which you go outside of, a half mile, 3/4 mile, set of Senate Barry, where you're gonna find anywhere kind of density like that. So it basically means there's no, where I live, it's cell service kind of, I'm outside of Verizon. Verizon's not gonna be doing any more landlines, anywhere near that. That's kind of dead in the water, so we're too far from a.
What was your
call
road
box.
again, Sean?
Cole Place, I'm off of Jewett.
Okay.
right by, so, so that's the only thing, so Verizon's not an option, cell service, obviously, I mean, you can't, I have a couple kids, and it's like, you can't do anything with it, the data will eat it up like that, so I'm done, so basically I have no option, no access to internet, and I think a lot of people outside the general population center have no access to internet, and then nowadays, it used to be in the past, it wasn't a big deal. Now, everything is online, education, I mean, everything. And I just don't have it, I think a lot of people don't have access to it, and I actually went through, spoke to, someone came out from Charter, they were putting it through, gave me a rough estimate, 50 grand, that we would have to be responsible for to pay to actually upgrade it. I mean, 35 for them, 15 for Verizon, I mean, that's like, so it's kinda, I don't see the density ever increasing. I mean, when the outside, I mean, that's gonna be 25 years from now, so that's, where are we at? I know you were saying Wi-Fi, but I don't understand how, you have to have cell service, you have to have some towers going up, or you have to have some strong, to reach all these different areas, where hills and things like that, how would that ever, not to mention unlimited data, where is that coming?
So Verizon, and you're seeing this with the cell companies right now, so Verizon switched to their unlimited data. They still hold the right to do traffic shaping or throttle you after a certain amount.
Right.
But you're seeing the companies make that shift, and that's because they're getting prepared for 5G. And I think it's when 5G comes out, it's supposed to the bands. South Korea already has 5. They've had 5G for like 5-7 years, but the speeds. So right now, 4G gives you a speed somewhere between 15 and, if you have a really good 4G connection, you'll get around 100. I'm not going to get into technical, but I'll just use numbers. So 15 to 100 is the current cell speed, and then distance, you can get a decent distance from the tower. 5G is going to be between 1,000 and 10,000, so there's a significant jump there. We've had 5G technology forever. There was just some concerns about public health because we've never done a mass deployment of radio waves at this frequency, because they go really high and really low. They go low to travel far, high to deliver the fast speed. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when 5G gets deployed.
What about the coverage? I feel like you could drive through South Barry, you can't even get phone calls.
They're already working on throwing things on towers that they were never using before. They're truly expanding their network. And then Verizon started deploying on telephone poles. So you'll actually start seeing their little white caps on top of the telephone pole.
Princeton, I believe, does that. Princeton supplies Wi-Fi to the
So
town.
Princeton did something. So yeah, there's Wi-Fi and then the 5G cell. But you'll actually see Verizon. I've started seeing them pop up in orange, but they're putting the little white caps on the top of the telephone pole, and it's just to repeat that cell signal. So they run fiber up to that pole, and they put micro towers on top of the poles. But I think you're going to see Verizon, because they're going to know that 5G is going to be fast enough that everybody here will just cancel. And we've already moved to streaming cable service, so people don't need cable anymore. People don't have home phones anymore. If you have a home phone, it's probably because you don't have a cell phone or you don't have good cell service at your house. So Verizon knows that if they can build a 5G network that can cover basically everybody, they get all the money that's getting spent right now on cable, TV, and internet. And that's why
I mean, time frame wise, I can't imagine something like that ever happening.
it's being built.
But for rural communities like the area, I can see Boston where, FiOS and all that, I mean, all that stuff is going crazy, like they were doing.
Well, that's why you saw FiOS stop.
Well, I know, but I mean, everything's in big communities, I mean.
They're building on the tower in Barry right now. And they already have other towers in Barry, but there's a,
That's not helping cell service.
yes, it is.
I asked him specifically.
Well,
That's
which,
true.
it depends on the tower that you're
The
speaking
one on
of.
Town Farm Road.
That's
I asked
T-Mobile.
the guy.
There's only, I don't even know if there's a connection on that yet. T-Mobile's the only one that has requested to be added to that tower right now.
Yeah, and he said, because he said they won't be,
I think
it's
this
not
is,
gonna
I
affect
don't
you.
know.
I think it's a great discussion for the internet leverage committee.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, is it's something that needs to be addressed, but I didn't think we'd make very much
think
progress
it's the
here.
most-
Yeah, oh, that.
But we
brought up,
definitely
just-
recognize the need.
Yeah, just again, and just the access, I feel like there's a large portion of the community that's no longer has access to something that's a necessity, and just
I mean, you think, internet is, I think internet is more important than roads right now, because internet really is the 21st century road. So when we had the Industrial Revolution, highways were important because it moved goods, right? You're able to move manufactured goods quicker. Internet is now that road to move goods. Goods are now moved digitally. We produce digital goods. We're not shipping books anymore. We're sending books over the internet. People are consuming and learning through the internet. So I agree. Internet is the most important. I think that's why Greenfield made the step. They're giving it out for free to everybody. And then if you need more speed, you can pay for more speed. But that's why I think the Internet Leverage Committee through the Barry
CMRPC. Oh,
Yeah,
the Barry,
CMRPC.
The
Barry
business community of Barry.
Yeah.
the business community of Barry. They have a Facebook page. You can find them on Facebook. Put that plug in there.
Plug.
But I think working with them and getting resident support for some of this stuff is huge, because when you have, so Barry has what, 4,000 people roughly?
Almost five.
Almost 5. So let's say you get 90% of those people to sign a agreement saying that they all stand behind the businesses of Barry, saying that they want, this is the speeds they want, and we will all boycott coax unless we get this speed. That has a lot of weight with companies, because you're looking at Charter, who's making millions off of Barry, and if they risk losing the entire town, because we're demanding higher speeds. And there's models that we can do. The town can become its own internet service provider. There's the MBI project. There's smaller private companies now.
Peter Sam's the one?
Yep. Well, that's
Yeah,
what they're telling me they're
Peter
doing.
Sam's doing a
Trying to do.
project. So there's a lot of different angles right now that we didn't have 5-10 years ago. So it really is a real threat to Charter. 5-10 years ago, it wasn't a threat. Because they're like, yeah, what are you gonna do? This costs so much. Really
I'm
only
happy
have
with anything,
resources.
just my kid's 5 years old, I'm hoping we get something before he goes to high school, that's my goal, so it doesn't really matter, I'll
But you
take
guys-
dial-up.
Who was it that said they're wiring Peterson and wanted to know if they can pick up?
They had a town
Chris
meeting.
Collins or someone?
Yeah,
And that's part of why I wanna look at our contract. I mean, are we allowed to let them do that, or?
They had a town
Do you know what I
meeting
mean?
vote on it, I know that.
No, they had asked if Barry people
They'd
in
asked
the
us if-
northern
Oh,
part
oh,
wanted to tap in.
They had asked us if we can allow them to
And
pick
I-
up Barry customers on their border in Peterson.
So,
Yeah, no, I think this is,
We
Do
did
we
have a
have-
lawyer that we
do we have your
used for
email
that
address?
contract.
I can give it, I know, I sent it to them, but I can.
We should read it first,
email to you.
and then-
yeah, I'll send you the
see
info
what
for
it
the
says
Barry
and-
business community, because we need,
I forget
they need
him.
resident
Yeah, you remember
support. So I
him,
think
right?
that
Yeah.
the model that should happen is the Barry
That
business community
cable
determines
company?
what's needed.
How many
businesses
pages is that?
provide,
Is something emailable, is
and
that?
then residents
I can
either
try.
say,
It's a
yeah, we
big
support
document.
this, no, I
Do
don't
you have,
really think that's
Drop
good.
wires on your
If
iPad?
they can
Google
sell
share.
it to residents,
No, 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 do you
business
have
support,
Drop?
and we use the
Oh, like
government model
Dropbox
to
or
help
something?
push it.
Alright, then we don't want it on the iPad.
Oh.
Businesses are the ones that are
Have it
supposed to
turned
be
on?
delivering services
No,
to
does this work?
to people.
Adam could answer that better and quicker.
All right.
Can I airdrop to them?
To who, what do you mean?
To the
On
iPad?
iPads?
Yeah, if they turn it on. I think that, yeah, if you swipe up and then turn on AirDrop, make sure you have
play
Bluetooth on.
mirroring,
What's this?
airdrop contacts only.
But this is an example, like the whole idea that we're just sharing files digitally like this,
Mhm.
is something, this is why
Got it set
internet
for everyone.
and connectivity is so important.
Just for fun, teach everyone, pretend I don't know how to turn AirDrop on and show everyone how you do it.
Just swipe up. And then, you have AirDrop, you just turn it on to everyone. That's it. So now someone can find this iPad.
Everybody caught that? It's very easy.
Can you change their names on their iPads? So it has-
Okay, are we all set tonight?
I think so.
I thank you very much.
No problem.
It's,
Thank you.
it is a shame I did not invent
they have
internet
to get that
currency,
first?
but
What?
We'll give it back to Adam.
that's,
Thank you very
that's what I regret, not inventing internet currency like Bitcoin, but
I bought a smartphone this year, that was my My step into the modern age.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a flip phone until about 6 months ago.
What app did you send it with?
Out of my drive.
Google Drive?
Yeah, he opened it.
In Google Drive?
Yep. He sent it saved it to his drive.
So I just,
Yeah, we just gotta download some apps. I'll work with you. Probably easier. Is there a document that he needs?
that's what we're just trying to get with
I was just trying
document.
to drop it to him because it's a big document.
I have iCloud's Apple ID set up.
It should be, I think. I think I
Okay.
have something like that.
Okay.
So,
I haven't done much to
jump
it.
to whatever's
Yeah,
more
you can
pressing
I
if
do
you
whatever
want.
you gave me.
You
I'm just
okay?
checking my emails with that. I haven't done anything with emails. You probably know that already, but.
So what that is, yeah, just AirDrop. But that's the things that bring efficiencies in.
That was super efficient.
It's great when you have big files because you're right next to each other and actually can do it. Email is not always the best way of sharing.
Well, it's a huge document, so.
Thank you very much, Adam. I really
Thank you.
When I
appreciate it.
figure it out, we'll get it done, but,
I can try to email it to you.
yeah, well, no, he'll show me how when I get him and we'll drop it.
All right.
As long as we're making some discussion about it. I address Sean, is that all right?
Okay.
So Sean, I think that's all we're gonna get for that for now.
Oh, that's fine.
But-
Wait, so we were going to another committee, is that what's happening?
Okay.
I am.
I just didn't,
Yeah,
Well,
he's
inspection
recommending you talk to the
services.
business, talk to one of the business community
Yep.
meetings.
okay.
I don't know when they're meeting. To see if they're
Second
interested.
Wednesday,
Exactly.
second Wednesday of the month, first Wednesday.
The answer is yes, and
But
I
you can
think you
see
meant
if,
this.
you know,
And yes.
if they're interested in looking into it. Otherwise, we're gonna have to find out, I've gotta look at this document, I guess it's a document.
Yeah, it's
So,
this.
It's the
I can
cable
act-
agreement though, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure, like you said.
What's that?
Well,
It's the
typically,
cable agreement.
yeah,
so
but
I'm not
typically,
sure.
once you have cable, you can get internet
Yeah,
through
it's
your
a cable
cable.
agreement, but it's like they're intertwined, it's like, I know it's,
It-
I can
it-
actually, I have it.
By reading it, it shows you your leverage position more
It's
than
just
it
a matter of
does
figuring out if
what
we're
they're
allowed to
contractually
let the other
obligated
town
to
come
do.
in price and quote, which would be great. And if not, if we have the right to ask them to pick up
Sure.
the balance of the town and in some sort
I
of time.
think they did have a build-out plan, if I can recall, it was a large document, but I think there's a build-out plan, they have to go so many miles, like each year, or something to that effect, I don't remember.
And that was
That was
something
part of
Adam
their-
had referred to before.
That was, I think,
so.
something that was
It's gonna require-
negotiated.
Oh, he didn't, well, when
I
talking to Josh.
think.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to try and
Okay.
talk into people.
Yeah, we had
Might put the
a
pressure
lawyer that we had
on
hired to
Right.
do that.
Charter anyway.
Especially if they know we're looking
He
into,
specialized in
Something
that.
else.
Okay.
So-
especially we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Okay,
Have a
much.
great
thanks,
night.
Adam.
I'll just claim the thing.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, let's get
All right,
back.
have a good night.
I can send you Derek Mathis.
Did board members have anything they wanted to bring up?
Who's that? Derek?
Just a couple items,
He's with
just
CMRPC.
to
He's sort of
hit it.
coordinating
I'll
this very
do the
business
thing on the
community.
regional
Oh,
building
okay.
inspection
Yeah.
services
Absolutely,
if you
yeah.
want
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect. How do I get you my email?
I've got emails from you already.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
that's right.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We all send them around, so. they only get-
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Sean.
Okay, on the next item, it kind of falls under what was previously my selectmen's report, but it falls into the regional building inspectional services. The towns of New Braintree, Hardwick, Barry, and Petersham have met a couple times. We have a final draft of an agreement that we believe is, meets everybody's desire and covers each and everybody. We will be the owner of the agreement, and we will hire the building commissioner and local inspector of buildings, and she will have a part-timer, about 5 hours or so a week. And that's averaging, 1 week might be more, one might be less, that she would use to help supplement more work, I think, in Peterson, in the northern section of this region. But primarily, she'll use them where she needs, but the discussion at the meeting was that, just to really put it simply, if we move into it, the first year, it looks like we'd save $10,000 in that budget item on our end. It varies on each other. It's, right now, they're estimating based on hours that they thought were being committed to each town and historically. So over a 40-hour week, not quite 40 hours, but close to it. They said about 26 hours for Barry, about 10 hours for Hardwick, 2 hours for New Braintree, and about 5 hours for Petersham.
What were those numbers again? 26?
26, 10, 2, and 5.
10 was who?
I'll submit that also
Oh.
for you, if you'd like.
Sure.
So it was, what the idea was, is that was to try to figure out the individual assessments of the budget. And so we broke it out, and the assessments were divided based on that ratio. Pretty much every line item was divided evenly that way. The town would continue to provide under the budget, like a town vehicle. One of the things we had talked about, but it would be a separate agreement if we were to do it between Barry and Hardwick, is they might have a vehicle we could use, but we'd have to look into that at that time. And then Hardwick and Barry would do a separate arrangement, rather than getting involved in the four-town agreement. The four-town agreement would just hold, Barry would provide the vehicle needed for the building inspector to do their job. We would generally own control of who gets hired and who gets fired in that department, but the other towns would have a say in the interview process, but not a vote for the final decision. So they could be at the table when we interview people if we're gonna replace them.
Now, is this all inspectional services, electric and building and everything?
This is strictly building, not electric, not plumbing, no specialty inspections. It's only that which falls under the building permit process.
So have we been paying inspector full-time in the past? Is that what we were doing?
We,
Yes.
what was it?
Yeah.
30-something hours
Yeah.
roughly.
So they estimated 32 hours broken out by town, so 26, 10, 2, 5. We're looking at generally the same, but she's basing her pricing as if there'd be 35 hours for Brianna, the commissioner, and 5 hours as a part-timer. So the combination would be a 40-hour week between the two of them that the four towns would share. By doing that and breaking out all the costs, it still looked like we saved approximately $10,000 from what was submitted in the Finance Committee budget this year. And I compared that to the latest all budgets update to the paperwork that was presented at the meeting that we had last week. And we were still about 10,000 less than what was on last week's all budgets thing that the building commissioner had previously submitted. The benefit is the savings.
I can't imagine we need a building inspector any more hours than that in a week anyways.
I think I think it's a benefit for all the parties. I think it's just like any other agreement. You just gotta continue to work with the towns, and if things start to seem a little shaky, I guess, because things aren't working, you just sit with the town again and say, is this something we need to or not?
How many building permits are we issuing in a year?
Well, that's something we would have to do a better tracking of when that time comes with all four towns separately, because the concept is we'll maintain the single office that we do already. But each other town will kind of have a remote office, even if it's just a desk in a shared office, that Brianna or the part-timer would stop in like one day a week to show a presence in that town. But primarily, they'll be focused out of this office. I emailed you guys kind of a draft that was sent out. I did not send you the latest comments that came from Petersham. It was more of an administrative, just like,
It was more editing, I think.
yeah, it wasn't really changing the terms just so much, what references what, and is it really going to the right direction. So we haven't finalized the whole agreement, but my thought is hopefully soon, probably before we actually go to full budget, we want to do this, we would work towards executing an agreement in the next couple weeks so we can close the loop on that, be done with it, and all towns know what they're moving into.
I agree.
So I think the real goal is we make our decision within a week. So within 2 weeks, every town can just sit down and be done with this. So,
I think it sounds like a smart decision. Even if we had a building permit go out literally every business day, that'd be 250 permits in a year. We may do more than that, but certainly, there would only be, even if they required 3 inspections, each be 750 inspections a year. It doesn't take but, an hour time to go to an inspection, so the hours are there by far, even at 26 hours a week, to take care of our needs. So I don't think we have any problem with time in that. I think it's a smart choice.
Right, and the
Most of
other
the time
part
we'll be
this
sitting
does is all 4 towns now can kind of share a little bit in the expense of the training requirements and things like that. Where before, if she was playing the role of a building commissioner for, say, New Braintree, it probably wasn't in their budget to pay her to go maintain her continuing education hours, but for 32 hours, we couldn't not justify paying her for that. So we covered her training where before New Braintree didn't necessarily have to. Well, now they're still small percentage, but they'll be participating in a little bit more of
Kicking
the
something.
bigger picture.
I like it.
So if you guys could review what was emailed out, if you got any questions or something, just be prepared. Maybe we can try to get anything, just email them to Phil, any questions or comments you have, and he can maybe get them all together and work with Brianna and work with the other towns and kind of say, hey, I think we're pretty much all on the same page, or hey, one of the other selectmen in Barry had asked this, and see if they have anything. I think we're pretty much through the weeds. Like Phil said, it was really just a dot the I, cross the T type of review we just recently had. But I was very clear to them, I am one of 3, and they know that. So if you see anything different that you just you feel you need to rewrite because it's the right, and then say it now so we can make sure we get it all done right and clean it up. Other than that, I got nothing more to say, but I'll take any questions if you have them.
What's the term?
This is a recurring, it's not necessarily.
Is it 1 year?
No, it just continues in infinity unless maximum of 25 years. But we have the right, any member has a right within 90 days of the end of a fiscal year to back out of the agreement. So in a way, we can end the agreement at any point we want.
I think it also gets revisited every year to see if the parity is good, how much hours is being spent by the building inspector at each town.
And probably pay, I
fair?
would assume, for the inspector.
Oh, these fees, but they go to the individual towns, the inspection fees.
But I mean, the inspector pay, the salary must be addressed annually for
I was
raises.
just thinking that same exact thing, like how do you,
There would have to be some sort of,
Well, it's sort of based on the
contract
hours
for, is that up to
Right,
us
but
and they
if
just have to
we-
pick their share up?
if we
or
as
is
a
it-
town decide to do a 3% COLA, it's gonna change overall for everybody else.
It's the same thing as Rutland does to us with dispatch.
Okay, is
And I
that-
don't mean that in a bad way,
No,
but
is
they're
there-
the final decision maker, and we just
That's
gotta
what I'm
agree to a
saying.
budget
So-
number.
so-
Okay, so in that agreement, sorry,
No, that's what I was gonna say, so we're gonna set the pay and they're just gonna have to pay their share.
right, and what is the payment schedule? Is it once a year, is it twice a year, is it due by a certain date? Are we due to them with the next year's
I
cost by a certain date?
I do believe it's written in there.
The inspector probably gets a weekly or bi-weekly check, so.
No,
do we write
she's
the check?
asking how
How many
many
times?
times a year does New Braintree to
Yeah,
pay
no,
us to
I'm
cover
talking
their
about-
costs?
That's what I mean, well, that's what I mean, they pay us, they're not gonna shift funds over to pay they're part of the paycheck every week.
I think
so
it's
they must
either
pay.
quarterly or semi-annually.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know why it's not jumping out to me, but probably because I'm looking for it.
I would,
And I'm
But it was
skimming rather than
addressed.
really reading.
yeah, I would
Okay.
recommend that we look at some of our other agreements that we have with towns and try to stay on the same schedule. It'd be easier to,
Know when to
well,
expect
to
it.
know if we have to invoice these towns, we know all of a sudden we're
Okay.
invoicing Rutland for IT,
First half
these
billed in
guys for
July,
regional.
due on or
And we don't
before
wanna
August
make more
30th.
accounting issues.
And the second half
Between-
billed in
yes,
January, due on or
So that
before
sounds-
February 15th.
That seems like it's the same as regional IT, so that's good.
Okay.
And Brianna, I believe, really worked this, and Phil, I think may have went back and forth, but wherever Brianna started, may have probably can't come from something that Heather said, this is how we did this
I
one,
think she sent
and she
them a
built off
draft
it.
one, yeah.
So I think you're right, she probably tried to follow something that was already existing. But please, you guys can work
We'll-
together
we'll
too
read
and
it.
provide any comments on that. you and Phil has,
Sure.
but I think we're just
This
right
was a
there.
busy week in email, so I didn't read all of them. I
Oh, no, I
scanned-
understood
scanned a
that,
lot of
but I
them.
just
There's
wanted to
so
put it
much
out
in
there so that we
I'll go
could
through
keep
it.
this moving.
Yep.
I have nothing more to say on that.
All right, the next,
Okay, I just want to let you know, I spoke with Jason, we're coming up to the deadline on the TIP program, Transportation Regional Plan. If we have road projects we want funded through pass-through monies from federal highway programs, they have to go on the TIP. I noticed we had some things on the TIP, like for the two little bridges in South Barry on Main Street, but we don't have anything for the 5th year out, and I reminded him of that. So I don't know if Williamsville Road, I think, is already in the works. I think under the Mass.
I know Mechanic Street is already engineered,
Yeah,
so that's like a
Yeah.
ready-to-go project, if we could get funding.
yeah,
Williamsville was in the capital plan for this year, wasn't it?
yeah, it was, but I don't know.
Is it being taken
Yeah, and he
out?
had a couple others, so I told him about it, and I usually let him decide. And some are through the, I can't recall, I think it was Small Town Roads
They could have
program,
removed
so
drainage, I think, down that
they
side.
may already be, that one may already be taken care of, but I did take a few minutes to speak with him on that, and so that's all I had for now.
Laugh and grow, is that a time thing we should do now?
Well, if we're talking about that, should we talk about the Gaston Road
Yep,
Dam at this point? Stay with that topic, so it's similar?
yeah,
Should we,
well,
or are we already coordinating another meeting to work on that first?
Wait,
No, we met today with, I met today with DPW, Jason and Bill Ward, as well as John DiPilato, and Jason is gonna get a crew out there in the next 1 to 3 days to shore up the dam. And then, when the water is not as high, by the end of the summer, he's going to make more permanent, substantial improvements using concrete. So I think we're,
Is it prudent to
Hopefully
spend
they-
money repairing it, or should we consider
well,
letting it
apparently-
go draining and putting a culvert
He
in
thinks
and
he
put
can
the road
get, he
over?
thinks he can get $10,000 as a donation from IMS for materials, and the DPW would do the labor. And I'm sorry, your question, Greg?
Is that gonna be sufficient, though? It sounds like an awful cheap fix for, that thing looks like it's in pretty rough shape, especially the backside with the,
Well, that's the head wall looks,
it looks horrible.
it does.
Um,
He thinks he can take care of it, so.
To what end, though? I mean, it was serving, it looks like, and Attorney Beard was showing the maps, it looks like it used to service a mill there. And if the mill's not there functioning, there's no purpose to the dam, other than, it's making the pond. But the problem might be if we want to let the dam go and let it drain out, now we might be getting into a DEP issue because we're draining a pond that's now existing.
You're getting into a whole bunch of stuff
Well,
there.
And
I think-
that's what I'm wondering, is
Yeah.
because let's face it, popping the cork and letting it flow and putting a couple culverts under there and gravel back over, it's an awful cheap fix compared to rebuilding a dam.
I think
Hope it doesn't
at this
flood the
point, though, we
library.
still don't know after past years' history of who owns it.
yeah, that's the problem up there. This has been going on for years and years and
Well, if
years.
we don't know who owns it, why would we be messing with it other than shutting the road down and keeping people out?
Because I believe it's because they feel the road is critical to certain members of the town. Not the whole town, obviously,
We
but
may own
I'm
the,
guessing that's the reason. They want to
Yeah.
maintain the road somehow.
Well, you can shut,
Isn't the road the town's road?
you can shut the road at the dam on either side, so you could access the road from either side, just not have it as a cut through. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't
I
have- you
do,
don't
I
have to
just
tap
don't know
the
how
road
that
off at
affects the
ends.
populations up there where they go.
And I don't think, there's not a lot up there, is there?
no, it's all, and all the homes are on one
Actually,
side, one side of it.
There's, what is it, Lover's Lane, which is further south,
Mm-hmm.
that they could use. Apparently, IMS has some cottages or something on the west side of the dam that they would like to access. And I think maybe that's why they're willing to contribute. This has to be confirmed, but I guess Jason had a discussion with them some time ago that they'd be willing to donate
Maybe,
this money.
if we can determine who owns the dam, maybe.
We own the land underneath is what
Maybe meditation.
was
would
in
like-
that reading.
Well,
Maybe
they're-
meditation would like to own the dam.
I don't think they,
Because they certainly have the funding to take
I will-
care of it.
Nobody wants
I
to
will
own a
bet
dam.
they don't wanna own the dam.
No way.
Well, then,
I understand
then
what
I'm
you
less
mean.
concerned about their cabins on the other side of the road. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
What are we gonna maintain this for? With all the budget constraints we have going on?
My
What on earth?
reading of that research
I'll leave
It was
that to the
done.
DPW commission.
left me with two questions in mind. One, they don't specifically come up with any definitive acceptance of that as a town road, ever.
Oh,
And the other one is the question of the ownership of the dam. The guy doing the research pointed out that the property had, at one point, been one property with the mill or whatever it was that was there. At some point after that mill was established, then they separated the ownership, apparently using the road line as the delineation. And it, I think, became a road then. But I don't know as it was ever accepted as a town road.
So it may be a private way, really.
Well, it could be.
Well,
Could be a
Jason
lot of
seems,
things.
Jason seems to think it's a public way, a public
Yeah.
road.
Mike, wouldn't it be a,
I've
I'd,
always thought it was.
yeah.
I,
Public road?
Well, we
And
had
it
the
used to
same,
be tagged.
we used to
I went
have,
up and there.
everybody believed
That was
that,
hard.
everybody believed that
Whatever.
Ocam Road was a town road. And there was no evidence of it ever having been accepted, and we ended up going.
well, there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that say that's not really Ocam Road anyway, but, but that's a battle for another day, from another time, but.
We're digressing
That's
again.
super fun.
No, I'm not.
It's
No, no,
just
I'm just saying,
because- I hear you.
If you
Don't have
guys
to.
wanna let Jason move forward and take the funds from meditation center and try to shore it up, is that gonna be okay with the, is he meeting with the state on that to
I
make
asked
sure
him-
that's okay?
I asked him to contact the Office of Dam Safety, DCR, and let him know what his intent is.
Because I don't think we can just go forward on our own without their,
We've done this before with them. This is not the first time we've put in repairs on the other side, and I don't know who owns the road. I think they maintain that we own the road. Somebody owns the bottom, and the dam in the middle, I don't know. There's a lot.
should we at least consider shutting the road down at the dam on either side temporarily until this is fixed?
It was considered.
Should we do it?
Well, we can't come up with
My
a.
understanding is it's not our decision to make. At least that's what I was verbally
What?
told. I don't know the legal,
What?
all of that, but I was told that you only have two people in this town that can shut roads down.
That's not true.
And I don't know the reality of it. I'm
My
just
under-
saying, that's what I was told.
It's-
And I know the source of that.
And so I don't
It's
know
been strongly
what-
recommended,
who
obviously.
has the right to or not to close town roads. I don't know who has that
I
right.
haven't researched
there a
that.
But I would assume, usually when we're dealing with highway department, it's not just us. We would have to go to the DPW commission as a whole board to really make action towards that. Unless it was an
I
emergency.
think the letter from the
Different
state
story.
stopped short of ordering us to shut the road down, but they certainly strongly recommended that this road was shut down.
Well, I would too if it wasn't mine to fund. I would flat out say, that's not safe, so I'm not liable. And I'm not knocking the
Well,
state or
don't say
anybody
we're not
involved.
liable, because we could very well be liable.
No,
for this
no,
if we
I
don't
am
shut it
saying the
down.
letter from the state was to say, they're not liable, that's not safe. And now they can wash their hands of it and say, we need to do something about
So
it.
I guess,
It's a pass the buck, which
I guess
could
it-
also be good info.
I guess at this point in time, what should happen now is Phil had a meeting with the chairman of the DPW and Jason has a plan. And it, Phil, like he said, requested him to contact the Office of Dam Safety and DCR. I would assume that if they're not satisfied with whatever conversation, or if they are satisfied, they're gonna send us a follow-up correspondence. And maybe Phil can reach out to them, he's been in contact with them, and ask them for an update by next week, and then if,
I'm
say,
gonna
they
talk to
come
him
back and say,
tomorrow.
hmm?
I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow,
Who?
Right.
Jason.
No, I'm saying like this,
Well, I wanna
People
see
that
what
are
he, I wanna see who he has talked to and what his intention is. And, you know,
I mean,
he
I would
he may
say-
not really care what they think, he may just be going forward.
right,
And we need to know,
I would think that the town would
I
want
was there
something in
today.
writing as follow-up,
Yeah.
correct? Jim?
so is he,
Yeah,
DCR or this,
yeah, you're gonna, you
dam
should get
people?
something from DCR telling you what at least their position is on doing anything to that dam.
as the follow-up, right?
Are we assuming liability by doing anything to it?
Did they provide the tie and bond write-up, or just that tie and bond reviewed it and said it's not good?
There's a report.
They hired him and said,
Did they provide the report?
Yes, you got a
Yes.
copy of
From
that.
tie and bond?
That was
Yes.
in an email to you
yes,
today,
it was a
Yes.
7-page
Provide the
report we got.
report,
with
yes.
pictures.
Okay, I
and-
wasn't sure if I saw the report, I just saw the letter.
It's
I
in
think it was 2 attachments.
two attachments,
Okay.
and then the second report's 7 pages, and,
Okay.
and then photos, a lot of photos. And those photos are pretty damning.
There you go.
Yes, I did that. It's getting late.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So,
I don't know how
Doesn't
you.
we are waiting for
The state,
response, or asking Phil to just follow up, or
inspect all the
asking
dams?
I think we,
Well, that's what
DPW
they just did.
commission
They just
to...
had
Well,
engineers
In your
inspect
packet, I think,
this.
is the summary of
And
the
of the
state will tell you
discussion
you have
this
to fix
afternoon
it.
with DPW.
They didn't. They said they recommend we close the road because of public safety hazard until such a time until repairs can be made. They didn't say we had to close it, but they recommended it strongly.
Because I know the state came out to Phillipston, and the town of Phillipston has to rebuild the dam,
I think,
the lake.
I think the problem probably lies in them not ordering us to do anything, the fact that they've written right in the report, they don't know who owns it. So they don't know who to tell to fix it. They're alerting us because we can take a precaution for public safety before someone gets hurt or a car falls in and shut the road at either side of the dam, which is what I would like to see done. If we have any power to do so, I would like us to do that. People can go drive on one side or the other.
my understanding, the board can do that. This board.
Well, I'd like to make sure we can before.
Well, I
make the
think
motion.
I won't say I'm 100%, but I'm like
Why don't we?
I'm like 98% sure
Alright,
this
let's-
board can do that.
Let's wait till we next meet. and put
Okay,
this- can we-
that's fine.
Faye, can this be on, Charlie, can this be on our next agenda?
Sure.
So we can check at the legality of us to close it.
Yep.
To be 100%, and then talk to Jason and see, I don't want to step on his toes and tick him off, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like it
I
closed.
think Bill found that out.
I'd like it closed if we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, he could access and get in, but I mean, some
Yep.
cement barriers if we can
Yep.
do it,
What next meeting are you referring to?
whenever we next meet.
June.
2 days. Like, I'm talking your next meeting
Well,
that
we-
you're
we
together,
could-
or your
but
next
we couldn't
regular
put-
meeting?
We don't have another regular meeting currently scheduled, right, until...
Yeah, we couldn't
First
post
of
it for
June.
2 days anyway, so.
Yeah, we'll do it.
If we have to, we'll call a meeting for it.
We'll do it the first week
Yeah.
in June.
How about this?
Is,
We'll ask Jason if he consider closing it. Because maybe he can do it. Or will he not do it without us
I
asking?
mean,
I don't
Phil
think
had a
he's
meeting
going.
with him today, so that might
I don't think
have
he's
been
going.
already answered.
I would recommend you call Jason,
Yeah.
Greg, and speak to him about the matter.
Well, do we have a consensus we'd like it closed if Jason's willing to do so? I don't
Yeah,
think we have to
perhaps,
vote on
perhaps you
it.
should have Jason appear before the board of selectmen.
That takes more time.
You can
Mhm.
do that next to coming. with-
Feel free to talk to him,
Foundation.
Greg, and then I would just ask that you share your information with Phil, and if it seems like it needs it, then we can come together briefly and do a quick meeting on that.
You are posted for Wednesday's meeting already for finance?
But
So
we're
if you-
not, well, we could add, yeah, this would be a rare time where we could add it without 48 hours notice.
No, I don't think this is an emergency, actually, and,
You don't think so?
no, because we faced this issue on this bridge before.
Did you look at the pictures though right now?
I've seen the
It's-
picture,
it's-
yeah, I've been,
okay, okay,
I
'cause
toured
it's
all the
good.
roads.
What I don't know is how it's built on the other side. That could, I don't know the
And
other
what
side of the
concerns
water,
me
because
also is
that
the
could be
seepage.
a
The seepage is way off to the sides, and that's gonna undermine.
12-to-1 pitch for all I know, and it's
It
got a
almost
mountain on
is
the other side of what you're looking at,
Really?
so I don't know.
I just,
When the water gets high,
But that's bad.
I mean-
I don't know bridges,
I
that's how
mean,
it's supposed
before you
to
is
work.
a report from an engineering firm.
Right, and they want the road closed, and
And the risk
they're
here,
being cautious, I understand too,
And-
but
All
I
right,
think it's
so-
a smart caution.
and the risk here is you couldn't say you didn't know,
Right.
because they sent you the report. They've covered their tracks. The state has.
I would like to see the road closed,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. Why don't, yeah, talk to Jason, we'll take it up when he's ready to deal with it. We've done road closings before here. In my time.
We're talking temporary, we're not talking shut the road down for
Well,
good.
you're not gonna,
Temporary
if you're
closure.
shutting it down because you don't want him repairing it.
No, shutting it down because we don't want people driving on it until the repair work's done.
I think he said he's gonna do that in the next 1 to 3 days.
Soon.
He was gonna shore it up temporarily, but do the major work at the end of the summer when the water level is lower.
Okay.
I'm not inclined to support shutting the road down as of tonight, only because I've had previous discussions with Jason. And I left that discussion with, I'm leaving it to you and your experience and knowledge and what you do for a living. You're saying we're okay, and he's saying yes. So I was not gonna now then come into this meeting and change my mind on that yet. That's just, I'm not saying my position was considered credible or right, but that's how I left it with Jason, so I'm not gonna change my mind now unless I talk to him again. That's just where I stand, but there's 2 more at the table, so.
All right, I will talk to Jason and,
And then, like I had said, that obviously a recommendation or a follow-up will come from this Office of Dam Safety and DCR, whether they accept whatever Jason proposes to them or whether they don't. I don't think they would just leave this as an open-ended
you know,
item.
the only reason they
On
might,
their
like I
end.
said, because they were opposed with, we don't know who owns this. The ownership is questionable, they don't know.
Right, but I'm saying after Phil's meeting with Jason, Jason's gonna report to these people.
Mhm.
Phil asked him to
Mhm.
contact them and do a follow-up with them. If he contacts them, we can assume that they will file out a letter back.
Oh, yeah, I think they will.
Right, so,
All right, we'll see what they say. Okay, that's off the list.
Okay, we got the
so,
planning board issues.
nope, go back up. The proclamation for
Proclamation
the
for-
Race Amity Day.
Oh, okay, I
This
got that
came
right
from-
here.
I jumped ahead one because we were talking about roads, I wanted to get it in at the same
That's
time.
okay, that's
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, we have to, we're supposed to declare Race Amity Day, and that is a issue sponsored by the E Pluribus Unum Initiative, which is a nationwide initiative, and that's for people, I guess, of all walks of life, tolerant and everything, and it's fitting for Massachusetts because that is on our state seal. So, and that day this year is June 11th, as proclaimed by legislation and Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito and Francis, our Secretary of State Galvin. So that is June 11th, and I believe it's the, where does it say here? Somewhere I just saw it, the second Sunday of June annually is Race Amity Day. Amity Day, not, so I guess we need to, you have something for us to sign?
There's nothing to sign, I think they just make
You
a
just,
motion to.
you made the proclamation right there.
Oh, okay. I don't know what we're supposed to do the other 364 days a year,
The
but.
proclamation was made and
Right.
Okay,
he proclaimed it.
okay.
Okay.
So the next thing I have is we got a
So we're
letter.
just acknowledging the proclamation of it.
Yep, that's all we're
By-
doing. And we have our pilot notification from the Division of Conservation, and that was for, I just saw it here. This is for FY 17, and that was $186,168.60. This is a payment in lieu of taxes for state-owned land owned by the Division of Conservation Resources. And that is for all of our fish and wildlife land, state forests. And that's very important to the town. I have not heard whether they're increasing that this coming year or not. They usually do increase it a little bit. But I know the budget that's been proposed does not take into account an increase, as I recall. I don't think it did it? No, I didn't think so. Okay, now we have the,
Yep, Kurt Wells, just sent a letter that he's resigning as a full member of the planning board, and he's also enclosed an application to become an associate member.
Okay, that is the wishes of the board. We have to accept the resignation
Please.
on the,
I move to accept Kurt Wells' resignation from the planning board.
I have a second.
Okay.
Okay, discussion, hearing none, call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
We need to file with the town clerk.
Yeah, she got it.
Right.
Mhm.
Now,
So,
we have to, can we appoint him without the board being present?
planning board?
Yeah, an elected board, I thought we did
I
that
don't know if
jointly.
I don't think I got a recommendation from them on
The
that.
last time we did this was, they had the recommendation that they
Yeah, normally they give you a recommendation.
supported a recommendation to us.
The last
Otherwise,
time they
it's
had the
a delay.
recommendation was the exact same situation when Phil left, and they recommended putting Doug Martin in place of Phil.
Right.
And
Except
then
they had a
Doug
vote and then-
didn't get the election just because of a close vote. And now he's back in the same boat where Kurt left, and they're probably gonna say, yeah, put Doug, because he's currently the associate, so they usually move him up.
Did they do it?
Yes,
And because Kurt just wants to be
That-
a
that may
part-timer,
be-
he's just rolling down to the associate.
I'm not sure.
That-
I think the important thing is here that if you're a full member, you have the right to vote on typical planning board business.
And we have the right to appoint still as
Well, no,
opposed
it's
to
You
a
do,
fill
point-
but
the
you're
meeting.
actually just swapping positions,
It-
Just,
so Doug can play a more important role there.
What's the date of the
was,
resignation?
we have to do it jointly. They have had to vote on this. And we can't appoint to an elected board.
Okay.
This isn't something that
We
we,
can approve, we can't appoint.
We-
can
and it has-
approve the
You
recommendation.
didn't meet last week?
we
think
vote
so.
jointly. And so if they vote to put him on, well, they probably got, then it
Well,
would be
you know,
5 to
let's
3
just
at a minimum.
table this
Right,
and let them
I know they
act on their
discussed it.
own, and then we
he
can.
thinks that they did act.
I know they discussed it, and
But I think we need something like we
I'd
did
be
last
amazed if
time.
they didn't take a vote at that last meeting that they had last week.
Yeah, but we don't have it.
Okay, so why don't
Or
we
was it
just
the week
table
before?
appointing Kurt?
Both of them.
Okay,
I'd make a
Douglas is-
motion to appoint Doug Martin as the full-time planning board member, Kurt Wells as the associate member, pending confirmation that the planning board has agreed with those
That
recommendations.
should cover you.
And then we can just be done and they can do it on their own agenda.
that'll do it. Thank you, Jim.
Okay,
Have a
second
good
it.
time. Bye-bye.
Second, discussion, hearing none, call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
I'll agree to that.
That's good.
all right.
Okay, we have.
Thank you, Jim, very much for your time.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Gee, you didn't get to hear me talk about Bitcoin and Berkshire dollars.
No, but I was enjoying your conversation about the guy that could
So,
From
do
Worcester?
those shots in the basketball.
It's right about halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mary Ann Gendron on the
Yep.
youth commission.
don't get me going on why he's not in Amherst playing.
I'd make a motion to appoint Mary Ann Gendron on the youth commission.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion, hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
and I did, let Marion know that we'll
In
have
favor?
to
Aye.
do a new Cory check.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we got some wage authorizations.
Does she need a new one?
Yeah, It's supposed to be every 2 years, but
Oh.
Okay, and we've got common victular license.
you're skipping over, hold on, some wage authorizations that I have.
Oh, okay, I thought we did. Okay.
So when I was going on the budget, looking over the step increases and stuff before the finance committee meetings, I came across Jason Pimenta was due a step increase in September. So
This
I-
last September?
Yeah, so I called down there and went over this with him, and apparently he skipped a step at some point in time. That's why if you do, when he started from today backwards, he shouldn't be at the step that he's at, but at some point he was given,
Oh, they
jump.
like, you got a raise that
in the
skipped
mid-
a
in the
step
midst
and
of a
threw
step.
off the
Correct.
standard
So it didn't make
steps
sense,
here.
but on the last wage authorization on there, there was a note from Heather that says next step would be on such and such date, because it doesn't fall correctly number-wise on the comp plan. So on this form, which I filled out on his behalf, I did note the same notation, that the next step increase, which is 3 years from now, when it will be. So if somebody else looks at this 3 years down the road.
So September is actually the date he,
September 23rd, 2010 is when he originally was hired as a superintendent. However, at some point in time, he skipped a step. They gave him a salary increase to another step. So it makes, if you do the numbers 2017 minus 2010, he should be at a step X, but it's incorrect because of a jump that was made in there.
right, and
It's
so I'm
all
just trying to figure out
documented.
what is the date that we're actually counting on that step now?
Nope, he should have gotten it September 23rd, 2016.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I have.
So he's not going back to that day.
Crazy steps is.
That would be up to you guys.
I don't know, it depends on how good it, no, I'm just, I'll say no more, that'll get me in so much trouble right there, I had to bite
I
my
don't
time
think-
quick.
I don't-
No spending money.
I believe it is in the budget for this salary.
I make
think
a
if we-
motion to approve the wage
I
authorization.
think retroactive to the date. If we don't, if we make a lapse and we miss a step, I think we just open ourselves up to something in the future. It can't be that much. Well, how much is the step difference and what are we talking about?
Probably 3%.
It's a pretty good
I
amount.
don't know his number off the
Well,
top.
it's from what to what,
Okay.
Matt?
It's about
He's
7 months.
adding about 2,000 a year,
Mhm.
So it's a little over
so we're
1,000.
talking about $1,000
I don't think
in
that's,
September to now.
No, it's almost a
No,
full year.
5,
no,
so
September.
another $2,000, so we'll just say, by the end of the year, he's that close.
12.
It'll be
That's
2
2/3
months
of it,
shy
yeah.
of, 3 months shy, so
It's about 12.
1750.
It's about 12.
Almost
now,
dead
12,
on.
1,300, something like that. Should be 8 months.
But as she says, it should have been in the budget, so it's
It
not a
appears to
big
be-
issue.
It appears to be in the budget. The
Yeah.
salary that's in the budget appears to be the new salary.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
For some reason.
Did you make that a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Was it for
He amended it
retroactive?
to
Okay.
pay for the retroactive.
You're all set with it, Peg?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, the next one I have is for Paula Barkis. Paula, as you know, the assessor's office has moved around. We've had some, we had updates on the department. So Paula's changing from an assessor's clerk, I'm sorry, she's
Mhm.
remaining an assessor's clerk, but she's increasing hours. That's what's reflected on this wage authorization.
Oh, I didn't recall she was part of that. I thought it was just a switch in Eileen's hours.
Nope, the whole department shifted. There was 3 shifts. So if you wanna, there's no wage, there'd be a
I had a date all that.
annual wage change,
I had a
but
date
not
all
an
together,
hourly
what's for the
wage
minutes.
change.
Yeah.
So I know it's a
Make sense?
15.
Does this falls in with everything stayed within their budget, this move?
That's
Yeah, I guess it goes down to
what they
Phil.
stated.
Well, as long as it stayed within their budget, then I'm okay with it.
Mhm.
Make a motion to approve the,
Wage increase.
It's not a wage increase, it's an hour increase. She's
total
making
Increased hours.
annually,
Increased
total
hours.
annual
increased hours.
Increased hours.
income for the assessor's clerk.
I second the motion.
Same rate, additional hours, 4 hours more per week.
Second.
Okay, was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, second.
It was.
Okay, I'll call for a vote in favor?
Aye.
All right, and
Aye.
the next one in that same department, like we're talking about, is Eileen White. She's going from a assistant assessor A2 to an administrator assessor A6 from 2371 to 2545.
Make a motion to approve. Now, how's this?
Go down here.
Right, we just changed her title in the classification plan, so she's still on the same steps by years.
She's maxed out. She's been here a long time,
So why is she getting a pay increase?
because she's
Changing titles.
changing titles. Remember, we created a new title for her?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right, but
added
we
it to
didn't
the
change the
classification?
classification line item. We just
Mhm.
changed the title.
No, it was changed as well.
Yep.
Okay then.
We changed
That is
the
fine.
title.
I got you.
Hold on, we changed the title and she changed classification.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I am okay with that then.
I have a comment on this, DPW. Actually, I am not the department supervisor for DPW, it's the commission. I mean, I guess my name is listed here, and I guess I could stay there, but I'm just making a comment.
No, I agree. I think John
Yeah.
DiPilato would be
Yeah,
the
that's what
signatory.
I was,
But
okay.
should I just leave it as me?
Hmm?
That's fine, Heather had always signed
All right.
those wage authorizations.
Yeah.
I get you.
We'll visit
It's a
you in
step
prison.
increase, it's not like it's a outside of the decision.
Okay. I'd make a motion to approve Eileen's wage increase.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right.
In favor?
Aye.
Robin Cheney, in that same department, has been appointed as the working assessor, and he is A2, step 1,
Keep going
at
down there.
2014, 10 hours a week.
All this money, Claire.
He's kind of taking Mike Flannery's role, but then he
Well,
reduced
Michael left.
hours and increased
Michael
Eileen's
Landry.
hours. It was,
He's not working,
What's
he's
the
just a
hourly
regular
rate?
the hourly
member.
rate right here
He-
says
he
$20.14.
left, they're rearranging the whole department.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Hmm.
I was just explaining, when Michael stepped down as the working assessor, everything's been rearranged.
Right. So Robin took that on, but he took it on at a lower hourly commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And Eileen boosted up to take the extra effort, and Paula boosted up hours to
And
fill
I-
in the blank, and
Eileen became the department head as well.
I don't know, Rob LaRue seems to be the department supervisor. How come Eileen's not signing?
Because he's probably the chair of the committee.
Just having some fun.
He's retired from that.
I accept, make a motion to accept Robin Cheney's revised wage authorization
Okay, do I have a second?
or initial.
In favor?
You passed
Aye.
it down for signature.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
It's getting late.
Um,
It's still before 10 though. We've been much later than this other night, so we're doing good for all this stuff.
All
Doing
right,
well. I don't know what the
um,
proper English is at this point of the night.
Common victualers license for Laugh, Learn, and Grow. They have 2 locations, so they're just looking to renew their common victualers license.
Make a motion to approve Laugh, Learn, and Grow at 1061 South Street Common Victular and 15 James Street Common Victular licenses.
I second the motion.
Okay, discussion, hearing none.
Do we have any fees and things that they're due? Are they all caught up in
They're
it
all
with us?
set.
Beautiful. That's fine on there. We asked of Colebrook, we'll ask of them.
Exactly.
What?
So we asked of Colebrook, we'll ask of them.
Oh, we've asked him a couple of, one of them, but,
Motion
yeah,
second.
call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
You're getting pushy here.
We're getting close.
I'm getting tired,
I see
Charlie.
3 things left.
All right, the annual town meeting, articles for request. I put together the annual town meeting draft warrant. We're gonna revisit this Wednesday at finance. What you guys, I'm gonna request is you guys go through, take into consideration the articles that have a money attached to them. Because if
There's
you,
a lot of those.
if you can
Impossible.
recall,
Most of them, almost
if
all.
you can recall it, if we're at.
That was my thoughts when I read them when they came in 2
Well, you
weeks
could
ago.
remove them, right?
Well, this is what I'm explaining to them, yeah, if you recall, we're at a negative $200,000 approximate.
Oh, we
This
recall.
would compound on top of that.
Yeah, this
I-
is
I
all
understand.
extra.
So, go through this, read it, some highlights are things that I, had questions for Jim Baird on, for his review, and he did take a copy tonight, and he's gonna get in touch with me tomorrow.
Mhm.
So if you just go through it and figure out what articles, you wanna strike out, the citizen stuff on the end can't be removed.
Because they got the required signatures.
Okay, and the
Which one of
town-
these going back to you?
Please.
Well, she doesn't want me to keep them, I'll move them, but, okay, we have the request for town property.
I don't have any, I must have thought I did, and we
Oh,
don't have
okay.
any.
That was an easy one.
Okay,
And our fun one.
I would like to table the next item.
okay.
Agreed.
We can take it
Another
up
night.
right off at the regular meeting in June, first meeting in June as a
Yeah.
top of old business.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
And with that,
I move to adjourn.
okay, thank you.
Gotta get a second.
Oh, we have the Eagle
Second.
Scout weekend, right?
Mm,
I will try to get there and,
Where was
When,
that?
where, what? Oh, right.
I forgot. That's bad.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon.
Where are they doing this? Is it,
I don't know where, I don't know where they're doing it, but we'll have all that stuff.
I think it's the American Legion.
Is it at the Legion Hall?
Sunday? We'll have to get an email reminder to,
Okay,
let's remember to each other so we can get there. Busy weekends coming up.
Yep. I'll
You
try to
guys have
prepare.
a calendar type thing you guys use for town? Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta read.
You know,
They're
like,
pretty-
like
they're
with my city, we
pretty
use like
easy.
Microsoft Outlook,
Oh,
so
yeah, I
everybody
remember
uses
when,
that calendar
All
thing.
the Rogowski boys went through it.
We
I used to
did.
go to theirs.
Yeah, you go, but I mean, it's part of our.
He motioned, I
Yeah.
second, and that's where the
It's one of the
conversation slowly
things that you
died.
got, you know,
Right.
It's okay.
out of the job.
We had a
I
motion
do
and a second to
understand.
adjourn.
Oh, I thought everybody, we were all set on these,
Well, somebody has to ask for
We
a
got all the
vote.
way to that point of,
I thought I did.
No.
There was no vote.
No vote, well, I'll call for a vote.
aye, aye.
Aye.
God, you guys.